No.
But yeah, we've got the Riley Grace Roshong versus Demon Mama debate from February 2021. I think it was around then. This has been edited in a certain way. But yeah, we got Demon Mama, famous for having children on his Discord, and her partner rizzing up said children, showing off their toys and stuff like that. Very nice. Riley Grace Roshong, I've not watched on here. I think she seemed to be one of those more like liberal types, like trying to be a bit more of a realistic trans person. Kind of, I guess, maybe in the vein of Brianna Wu to a certain extent. I think she's had some PV bucks more recently. But yeah, we'll just see what's going on. I watched this a long time ago, but I don't remember it super well. I don't know which side I'd fall down because I'm not really as transmed as I used to be, and kind of, I don't know, I expect maybe I'll agree more with Demon Mama than I expected I would. But at the same time, I'd be like, well, why is this like a protected characteristic if it's this meaningless? Because it's about like, what is a woman, I'm pretty sure. But let's have a look.
But you do realize that in your definition of gender, you use the word gender 2 times. So you said that gender is a totality of objective gender to you at all.
Find things according to like biological sex. Essentially, there's like 2 ways that you could interpret the literature. So what the literature is pretty clear on is that like bimodal distribution of sex, people exist on the spectrum of sex. Usually you want to focus on like the qualities that are sexed in a person.
Yes, like bimodal sex. I don't agree with this. I think sex is binary.
Rather than trying to sex an entire organism, right? So usually like people, like based on totality of their qualities, will fall into, based on those qualities, categories, which we'll probably define as like male and female. Obviously there are people who don't fit into those. Trans people are
The trans milk one is Nominal Naomi, who is not present here.
great example. But then there's a question of like, okay, so like how do we define these smaller traits which individually make up some organism, right? Or big argument, like, and this is like the Steelman version of like the TERF argument I always hear, is like the gametic entailment argument. TERFs will argue essentially because because someone can only produce one of 2 types of gametes, that inherently means that there's 2 gametes, 2 sexes, that's it, right? Like that's essentially what their argument is. And the response to this argument, and this is the one that I got from Avi, who is a doctor who actively studies biology, which is wonderful. Also apparently a vegan. I'm not going to debate him on that for a while. I'm kicking the vegan can down the road.
Fair enough.
Apparently that's what he's primarily known for. But anyway, so essentially the argument is that like Avi will not dispute that necessarily those individual things have a sex. But there's a difference between the gametes that an organism produces and how we categorize those gametes and how we categorize the organism doing the producing, you know? And so essentially like you can like and so like, and again, I'm not saying that this is necessarily the greatest way to do this. You know, I take a scientific realist approach. I think that the best way of categorizing something is the way which gives the most consistent and reliable outcomes. And so if this is the way that we do it, then fine. If not, then, you know, that's subject to further discussion, and it's probably going to continue evolving in the literature as the literature continues to explore this idea. But essentially, like, you could either look at something. So then, like, if we bring this back into like the discussion of like, all right, penis, is it inherently like, is it a male organ or is it just like an organ? I think that there you could probably fall either way.
Yeah, the penis, is that a male organ or just an organ? Well, it's an organ that only male people have. You can't be a female and have a penis. Like, potentially, you could have parts of a penis if you have some kind of, what's the word? Some kind of DSD, which results in partial, like, hermaphroditism. But, like, that's not really a full functioning penis anyway. If you had an actual penis, you would be a male. And bear in mind, there are no hermaphrodites that have both full sets of gonads and produce both kinds of gametes.
Okay? Like with the penis, it's important to remember that like penis, like all the genitals kind of like form from the same place. Like they start out essentially the same, and then through exposure to testosterone.
Yeah, bipotential gonad. But that doesn't mean that they're both the same thing or shouldn't be classified a certain way.
Usually is what, like if you just like leave a penis alone and you don't expose it to testosterone, it's probably just going to develop into a vulva, or just not going to do anything, right? Like it requires...
I mean, that would mean, by that argument, like, then would it not mean that you by this particular argument, then you could argue that a penis is a male sex organ, but you could not argue that a vulva is a female sex organ, because all
Well, a vulva isn't a female sex organ. The female sex organ is like the ovaries, all the parts inside. Like, which part is the vulva? One sec. Yeah, the labia, where the labia is. Okay, yeah, that's not the genitalia. That's not the gonad.
Like, then would it not mean that you by this particular argument, then you could argue that a penis is a male sex organ, but you could not argue.
Yeah, because the penis includes like the testicles and stuff, does it not? Like, a penis is the long bit and then the bit underneath. Like, it's the whole thing, right? Whereas the vulva is not the whole female thing. It doesn't include anything like the ovaries, like the womb, stuff like that. The uterus.
Argue that a vulva is a female sex organ because all humans, regardless of their genetic...
Yeah, so I don't think this is a good... there's like a false dichotomy or whatever, because those two things are really not equal.
Sex always start with a vulva because it requires the input of testosterone to even develop a penis in the first place.
I don't know about that, but I mean, like...
Pretty sure that's the case.
Maybe?
No, that's retarded. I'm sorry.
I have to think on that more. But essentially, like, these are the kind of issues that we come up with, right? So, I mean, like, essentially, when we're trying to say that, like, oh, a penis is clearly one of two kind of categories, well, it's like, no, I mean, you know, you could, like, because of the way that it develops, like...
Kinds of animals that can change sex are truly hermaphrodite aren't mammals. Yeah, that's my understanding as well. I've not heard of any dogs or, like, anything like that become fully hermaphroditic. And, like, a lot of true hermaphrodite things are things like snails and shit like that, if I remember rightly.
I think that there are a lot of places where you could say that, like, there are certain sex qualities. And if you want to say that's one, then sure. But I think that people assume that it's, like, this very strict binary thing with genitals. When you look at the way it develops, I'm not sure if it's as open and shut a case.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. I think it's kind of a silly argument to make.
Like, the way it develops, I mean, the way it develops is just how it develops. But at the end point, you still have two things. And one has one and one has the other. You don't get a random assortment of men that actually have vaginas and ovaries, and a random assortment of females that randomly have penises. You know what I mean? Excuse me. Like, I don't know. To try and argue that there aren't, like, sex traits is pretty crazy, in my opinion.
To me, it seems like that argument is functionally like arbitrary, and also so it doesn't give us anything. Like, we don't gain anything from calling a penis a male sex organ and a vulva a female sex organ.
We don't gain anything. Like, who cares what you gain about it? I mean, we're talking about labels right now, I guess. Is this going to be another one of those, like, well, I think language should be prescriptive? Is it going to be one of those? Because Demon Mama was a devout Vorshai at the time. I remember this.
We don't gain anything from that. We could just call them penises and vulvas, right? Like, why do they need...
It depends on how we're using the term, like, male and female, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, if we're using the term male and female to describe, like, different paths of sexual...
She's, like, bouncing so much. She does all of this kind of shit. Like, you know, when people pump their legs and stuff, and then they're, like, jiggling. It's crazy. It's, like, it's a bit off-putting, but I'll try and ignore it.
Development, then it might give us utility because it mean... like, basically, it would be like...
Obviously, there is some utility to treating penises as male and uteruses and ovaries, etc., as female. Because you need both to come together. It's probably a good idea for us to understand how babies are made. It's probably a good idea for us to understand how to make more humans. You know what I mean? I would say that probably is, like, utility. And, like, we categorize people in certain ways. But at the same time, sex does matter in some cases. Like, if you need certain medical interventions, your sex might matter depending on what it is. Things like that.
So, like, if we take the example...
But by that same argument, though, would that not mean that it would be okay for like, trans people to be, like, referred to as, like, male then?
No. No, like, I'm very specific to say that, like, again, because of the fact that, like, the literature seems to be moving towards more defining qualities of a person with sex rather than an entire organism, then you wouldn't be able to define, like, a trans woman as, like, a quote-unquote biological male, right? Because
the literature is changing. I don't know what argument this is.
Trans woman, especially on HRT. Now, pre-HRT, it's going to be a bit of a harder argument. There is some evidence to be able to suggest that, like, there is still some kind of biological quality. I mean, like, this gets into the question of like, what's the cause of gender dysphoria? What's the cause of people wanting to be trans in the first place? Like, what causes those mental functions which happen in the first place? There's probably something there. There's some literature to suggest that like the brain is
right. It's not unless you're a dualist and you believe unless you believe that it's like a soul thing, that like you have a female soul. But I don't believe in that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not going to believe that. But I mean, like, you want to be a little bit careful.
Rewriting how we describe biology. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's like based in linguistics and not anything to do with actual biology. A lot of it is taking what we understand and then applying a certain like belief system. A lot of it is like post-fact kind of shit.
Careful here, because you can easily get into like some transmedicalist arguments, because I mean then then we are necessarily,
I don't know, how we talk about transmedicalism is so fucking annoying. We need to get rid of that stupid fucking term. Like, we just invoke it whenever it's like, well, you don't want to say that because that's bad because transmedical. Like, I hate that shit so much. Like, if you use the word transmedicalism, consider dropping it from your vocabulary.
It's like a soul thing, that like you have a female soul, but I don't believe in that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not going to believe that. But I mean, like, you want to be a little bit careful.
Demon Mama functionally does believe in like female souls, as far as I understand.
Careful here, because you can easily get into like some transmedicalist arguments, because I mean, then then we are necessarily, not even technically, like, we are necessarily getting into questions.
I wonder if she's saying that because she knows that Demon Mama doesn't like transmed kind of shit.
Of like, all right, so what does it mean medically speaking to be trans? So you want to just be careful, because oftentimes if you're not careful, then you can accidentally start like drawing lines. I don't know, like, unfortunately, like, people who are reasonably knowledgeable about like the about trans discourse are usually able to have like a pretty good head about these sort of things,
right?
Just because like logically speaking, I guess the way I have like a Avi voice in the back of my head now. You can think of this in terms of like looking out for what would result like a rule which would result in like in a reductio ad absurdum, right? Like, if you were going to propagate a rule, would that rule result in like outcomes that are clearly wrong? So like with a lot of transmedicalist arguments, you get into a question of like, all right, so what if you have a like, for example, if we define what is necessary, like required to be a true trans person is to have diagnosed gender dysphoria.
See, I don't think it's because ContraPoints hasn't said it. With this kind of person, like, they're very weird about their beliefs and they're very weird about how they're expressed and stuff like that. So, like, to say that Demon Mama thinks there's a female soul, she's going to disagree with that. But then what they actually describe their belief as is basically the same thing. It's quite hard to... It's hard to kind of pin down, I guess. Like, a lot of these people are very cagey on what they actually believe, and it's difficult to work that shit out at all.
That's going to have a problem, because that naturally means that you are going to exclude people who we probably would define as trans, but who may not have experienced gender dysphoria, or who may have not been sufficiently diagnosed.
She's like really bouncing. Like, what's your head doing? Fucking hell, it's actually freezing in here. I'm just going to turn the heating on slightly. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. What I don't understand is why they don't seem to grasp if it is determined to be an actual mental or medical condition. Would that make it easier to gain the special rights they want? Well, that's why they kind of play both sides. Like, they'll support the medicalization in as much as it allows them to get what they want, but they don't actually believe in it. It's really hard to explain.
With gender dysphoria, right,
yeah, or who are incapable of being diagnosed, regardless of the fact they're actually trans.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so like that's an example, and I mean like that's the easy argument to say like why a lot of trans medicalists are wrong. But that doesn't mean that there's not a different definition of what it means to be trans. It just means that we want to be able to have a definition which does not exclude people who we do not want to exclude, but also doesn't include people who we don't want to include. Right? We probably don't want to say that like, and this is also my take, and this is probably my spiciest trans take. But I think I'm pretty pilled on this or whatever.
All right, sure.
I don't think that we can just say anyone who identifies as trans is trans.
Why?
I think that if we naturally, I think that the reason why is if we go with that, then we get into, it's a logical flaw. It's called infinite regress. Basically, like, it's a logical fallacy to say that just saying that you're something equals being that thing.
This I agree with. You can't just say you are a thing and you're a thing. Else, I'm a mule deer.
Now, I think that there's a definition of what it means to be trans.
Oh, she really starts pumping after this. She does not like this at all. Jesus Christ. I've never watched this, like being able to see them very clearly.
Infinite regress. Basically, like, it's a logical fallacy to say that just saying that you're something equals being that thing. Now, I think that there's a definition of what it means to be trans, which is able to accomplish...
See how she starts pumping as soon as that happens?
Being that thing. Now, I think that there's a definition of what it means to be trans, which is...
Really, really bothered by that take. Jesus Christ.
Able to accomplish the same thing.
Okay.
Which is essentially like... So, for example, here, let me pull up like the definition that I have relied on, which seems to get me...
See, this is what I mean when I say I might be more likely to agree with Demon Mama on some stuff than Riley. Because Riley seems really invested in trying to make this make sense when I don't think it does. And we're at the point now where it practically is just to anyone that calls themselves a thing is a thing. So then to me, it becomes a case of, well, you're making those words meaningless. And at the same time, you're making it sound that, well, this entire group of people is then based on nothing. And you want rights for something you're just calling yourself. That doesn't make any sense to me, you know?
Me through most things, right?
Sure.
Usually what I look at is like objective and subjective gender. So like objective meaning the totality of your gendered expressions and how society reciprocates.
You can if it's a religion, but these people won't accept that trans is a religion.
Interprets those.
Okay.
Combined with the subjectivity, like the totality of your mental processes, which motivates you to make those expressions, right? So for example, if you say, I am a woman, that is a gendered expression. That's an expression that you make to society. And if you are in a if you're in a social space which recognizes that expression and acknowledges that to mean that you are a woman and treats you like that, then objectively speaking, you have met the criteria to be a woman.
So then
right?
Should we not set that as the criteria then?
Objectively speaking? What's she saying?
That you make to society, and if you are in a if you're in a social space which recognizes that expression and acknowledges that to mean that you are a woman and treats you like that, then objectively speaking, you have met the criteria to be...
I don't agree with this at all. I think woman is a sex term. I think woman describes a certain biology. Like, because some people think you're a woman, I think that subjectively means that you're a woman. I don't know about objectively.
A woman.
So then
right?
Should we not set that as the criteria then?
No. I would say that. Well, I would say that this is like this is like a good criteria, and also like we can test this against a lot of like a good way to be able to see if a rule like this or if a principle like this works is to be able to test it, right? Because I think that like this is what we see, for example, in the
really pumping, like Jesus Christ.
Two coolest examples I like are closeted trans people and Discord.
I don't think Riley realizes yet how little these two are on the same page, and probably thinks that she can just talk about this stuff and have an honest discussion, which, if you're talking to Demon Mama again about anything, you're probably barking up the wrong tree, thinking you're getting honest discussion out of this person, but like, Jesus.
Because I think that Discord is cool. I think that like for example, let me ask you, why do we have gendered roles in trans-friendly Discords? Like, why do we have them?
I mean, because we have because our society and our language requires that we frequently use pronouns, and we create...
Wait, what? Roles in Discord?
Because I think that Discord is cool. I think that like for example, let me ask you, why do we have gendered roles in trans-friendly Discords?
So like a Discord, you'd be able to put whether you're a trans man or a trans woman. It's because you don't want people to think you're the other one. Because it's a bruising of your ego. If someone's going to think you're a man when you're actually a woman and refer to you as such. It's part of the illusion, ultimately. It's like an enforcement of the illusion.
Like, why do we have them?
I mean, because we have because our society and our language requires that we frequently...
This is wrong. It's not about that. If this was the case, you'd have gender roles on every Discord, and people would be enforcing that, no, you have to understand that I'm a male. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't happen in real life. And this person is trying to act like, well, this is what society's like. It's not what society's like that much.
We use pronouns, and we create, in order to facilitate comfortable use of pronouns, and we unilaterally agree to have, I mean, those of us are trans-friendly spaces.
She's talking nonsense. the reason someone like Demon Mama would like add a role for themselves on Discord stating that they're female is because they want to push the idea that they're female. It's quite simple.
We'll have bots that will automatically allow you to identify.
Right, but I mean, like, if you go into an online space, like if you go into a Discord and you don't have a pronoun role, okay, and you never say what your pronouns are, you know, then I would say that there's no guarantee, or it would be hard. Like, people are going to be looking for ways or some kind of basis to be able to gender you, and hopefully gender you correctly, right? Like, hopefully people are going to be like conscientious and be like, oh, I want to know how to gender this person,
right? But we don't. We obviously don't. We don't want to leave that up to chance because it's not fun for either party. It's difficult to try and gender someone based off of.
Has Demon Mama been taking testosterone? No, Demon Mama is just never going to pass whatever they do.
Basis to be able to gender you and hopefully gender you correctly, right? Like, hopefully people are going to be like conscientious and be like, oh, I want to know how to gender this person,
right? But we don't. We obviously don't. We don't want to leave that up to chance because it's not.
She's kind of she's hinting at what it is. You want to enforce it. You want people to call you what you want to be called. That's all there is to it. It's about maintaining the illusion.
Not fun for either party. It's difficult.
It's not fun for either.
To try and gender someone based off of loose associations and assumptions, and we acknowledge that.
Truthfully, people don't actually care about gendering each other. Like, I don't know, I can use my Discord as an example. There's lots of people I have no idea how they prefer to be referred to as. There's lots of people I don't actually know what sex they are. It's the same with my chat, because people that aren't trans aren't generally like super invested in everyone calling them the right thing. Most people just don't care. And I don't make a thing of it in my own Discord because I don't care personally either. Like, I'm so... Let's keep listening.
To try and gender someone based off of loose associations. And
because it's like we must gender people correctly. But in non-trans spaces, like, people just don't care about this.
Assumptions, and we acknowledge that, and so therefore we use pronoun bots because it's just simply easier and more functional for both parties involved to just allow people to identify as they please.
Yeah, but it's not about identifying, it's about pushing that identity on others and telling people how to refer to you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I think that there's more to unpack there, right? Because I don't think that it's just the self-identification. I think that there's more to it than that, right? Because
I don't really think that that's so much the case.
No, like, well, sure. Can I explain this?
Sure, sure.
Okay. So I think that when you choose a gendered pronoun, or when you choose a pronoun role, right? What that comes up in, like the context that comes up in, is if you have someone who is interacting with someone else, and based on the totality of their interactions, cannot yet tell how to gender that other person. Either the other person has not expressed what their gender is, either the other person has just been acting in a way that is neutral, or that has not given them enough information to be able to make a sufficient determination. Okay. And so someone will look at what other types of expressions that person is making. And in Discord, there's really not that many. You can have a PFP, but nowadays I can't tell you a whole lot. Sure. It can tell you sometimes a decent bit, but I mean, like, it's not necessarily determinative.
Sure.
And so, like, a really determinative thing that exists in online spaces is being able to look at pronoun roles. And if you look at someone's pronoun roles and you see she, her, that's a social expression that someone, and mind you, it's not like someone necessarily just chooses that just for the sake of choosing it, right? It's not like
you don't know that. You never can know that. It's impossible to know that. It's impossible to know. How could you ever know the reasons why someone else chooses whatever, like, role? Like, I mean, you run into the problem.
I mean, like, there's evidence to be able to suggest that, like, even if I'm not saying that it's necessarily like, I think that there's
I think you can generally guess what the reason is for someone taking on one pronoun role over another. It's because that's what they want to be referred to as. This is kind of painful. Like, I feel like Riley over-explains what she's trying to say when she's probably saying stuff that's quite simple, which is not going to help someone like Demon Mama who lacks intelligence.
Enough evidence to be able to suggest, and I think that we can, like, match this against our own experiences, right? I think that this is probably consistent with our own experiences, right? No one just chooses to be trans, like, in the same way that someone chooses what to put on, like chooses what to wear in the morning. Like, there is a
being trans is basically a choice. I wish we'd stop making it out to be something is not.
Choice which necessitates that outcome, right? Like, there is like, when someone makes the choice to come out as trans, it's not so much a choice to be trans, but rather a choice to express who they are, right? Like, I think that
I think it depends on the person, right? Like, I think that would be largely true for most, like, binary trans people. But
are you saying, I'm trying to understand, because I mean, like, my understanding of just about every trans person is that that experience is not a choice; it's an intrinsic part of who they are.
I mean, I don't know.
Like, there is a choice right? I think that this is probably consistent with our own experiences, right? No one just chooses to be trans, like in the same way that someone chooses.
You say you don't choose to be. I mean, you do choose to be trans. You don't necessarily choose to have gender dysphoria. But that doesn't mean that it's automatically like organic or something that means that you're the other sex, you know?
What to put on, like chooses what to wear in the morning. Like there is.
Yeah, to me, it basically is a choice ultimately. But then that's why it comes to the point where it's like, well, can you hear that? People can't just put the bottles in the thing. They have to like wang them in there. Are we done? Cool. Amazing. Apparently not. Sorry, someone's doing their recycling right outside my fucking window.
Yes, and I think that we can like match this against our own experiences. That's
or like role.
I think that there's enough evidence to be able to suggest, and I think that we can like match this against our own experiences, right? I think that this is probably consistent with our own experiences, right? No one just chooses to be trans, like in the same way that someone chooses what to put on, like chooses what to wear in the morning. Like there is a choice which necessitates that that outcome, right? Like there is like when someone makes the choice to come out as trans, it's not so much a choice to be trans, but rather a choice to express who they are, right? Like I think that.
I mean, I think it depends on the person, right?
Coming out, maybe.
Like, I think that would be largely true for most, like, binary trans people. But
are you saying, I'm trying to understand, because, I mean, like, my understanding of just about every trans person is that that experience is not a choice. It's an intrinsic part of who they are.
I mean, I don't know that, like, I don't know that I would make distinctions to that degree, because I don't think we can ever know. And so I don't think that for the purposes of categorization that it's mostly, like, mostly used.
Yeah, because what I'm seeing, like, I think Riley wants there to be some kind of unifying factor as to what makes someone trans. And Demon Mama wants it to be as meaningless as possible, it seems.
To worry about whether the intention is. Like, for example, like, I don't know. Okay, so I'm trying to think of an example of this. Like, is somebody who...
Yeah, Demon Mama is, like, always like this. Like, as soon as there's a disagreement, we saw it go into overdrive. Like, as soon as Riley said something that Demon Mama didn't like, the pumping started, like... Like, Jesus Christ. I think this person actually finds, like, disagreeing with people quite stressful.
Who is somebody who chooses to, like, wear gender like they would wear clothes. Is that person's gender expression any less valid than someone who has some sort of dysphoria issue? I think that it's very hard to separate these things out, given how deeply deeply entrenched the concepts of gender roles are in our society and how nonsensical they are. They're, like, highly chaotic. What's that?
No, I don't. But you have to be very careful, because I mean, like, so if we're throwing out the necessity for someone, like if we're throwing out complete, if we're throwing out subjectivity, because that's what it sounds like. So we're just basing it off of. All right, hold on. I just need to clarify, because
sure.
I want
person's gender expression any less. An example of this, like, is somebody who chooses to, like, wear gender like they would wear clothes. Is that person's gender expression any less valid than someone?
What does it even mean for a gender expression to be valid? I don't think gender expression is something that is valid or not valid. It's just something that people do. Like, is my gender expression valid? What does that even mean to say? I'm wearing a top and I'm wearing, like, leggings and stuff like that. Is that valid? Well, I don't know. It's valid for going outside because all my stuff is covered up. I'm not breaking any laws going out this way. I don't even know what this means.
One who has some sort of dysphoria issue. I think that it's very hard to separate these things out, given how deeply...
It doesn't matter. Like, if you're just expressing your gender in a way that men don't typically do and women tend to more, but you don't have any kind of identity thing, then I guess you're gender non-conforming. It's really got nothing to do with how valid something is. But people insist that they should be able to be trans without having any dysphoria. Well, I mean... I guess anyone that calls themselves trans means they're trans, but then that invalidates the whole thing anyway. I don't know. I'm torn between, largely I do think it's meaningless and it's just a choice that people make. But also this person still thinks that that should come with, like, rights and, like, respect and stuff like that, which I don't think so at all.
And how, like, deeply entrenched the concepts of gender roles are in our society and how nonsensical they are. They're, like, highly chaotic.
No, I don't. But you have to be very careful, because I mean, like, so if we're throwing out the necessity for someone, like if we're throwing out complete, hold on, if we're throwing out subjectivity, because that's what it sounds like. So we're just basing it off of. All right, hold on. I just need to clarify, because
sure.
I want to be careful. subjectivity and objectivity are both very important to me, because if you don't have subjectivity, then that means that, like, let's say that, for example, we have a pre-transition trans woman, right? Someone who presents guy completely, right? If you throw subjectivity out and you just rely on objectivity and the way that they express themselves in society and how society treats them, that's a guy. That's only a guy. There's only a guy there, all right? We don't want to do that. We don't want to say that.
I wasn't making that argument at all.
But if we throw out
subjective, does she know what subjective and objective mean? I'm getting a bit confused by what she's saying.
Chaotic. What's that?
No, I don't. But you have to be very careful, because I mean, like, so if we're throwing out the necessity for someone, like, if we're throwing out complete, look, hold on, if we're throwing out subjectivity, because that's what it sounds like. So we're just basing it off of. All right, hold on. I just need to clarify, because
sure.
I want to be careful. Subjectivity and objectivity are both very important to me, because if you don't have subjectivity, then that means that, like, let's say that, for example, we have a pre-transition trans woman, right? Someone who presents guy completely, right? If you throw subjectivity out and you just rely on objectivity and the way that they express themselves in society and how society treats them, that's a guy. That's only a guy. There's only a guy there, all right? We don't want to do that. We don't want to say that.
I wasn't making that argument at all.
But if we throw out subjectivity, then that's essentially what we're left with.
Well, wait, I think I'm misunderstanding here.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not saying throwing out subjectivity. What do you mean by that when you say that?
Subjectivity is like the internal mental processes which necessitate an expression of objective gender, right? Because we can't just say that's like we cannot.
Well, I don't think there's such a thing as objective gender. I don't think that gender.
Objective, hold on, objective. I'm using. All right, hold on. Objective. I'll define objective.
Okay.
Well, yeah, gender isn't objective. Like, that's what sex is.
Objective. I'm using to mean how the average reasonable person in a space or society interprets the totality of someone's expressions.
That's not. I don't know, man. I don't know. What are we talking about here? We've got someone trying to be too clever and someone not even bothering to think whatsoever. So frustrating. Wouldn't something objective mean that it's true no matter how you look at it? Okay, that's just... Not influenced by personal feel. I mean, because we're describing objectivity as like a subjective thing, are we not? I'm so like, we're trying way too hard on this side to be clever. It's not necessary. And it's just going to confuse this person, because this person is not intelligent by any stretch of the imagination. Objectively, there we go.
To categorize into a certain gender.
So what you're saying is like what people conclude you are.
Well, it's your
because that is subjective, is it not? Like what people think of you is subjective, just like what you think of yourself is subjective.
Expressions and how people interpret your expressions based on your expressions, right? Like if I go outside and dress in a certain way, my gender.
Like if everyone sees me as a woman, I'm not objectively a woman. Like that's still subjective, is it not? Someone tell me if I'm getting this completely wrong. But like, I think she's using words completely wrong. Requires that other people agree. But like, I think isn't it more than just other people agreeing? Because more than one person having the same opinion, that doesn't make something objective. Like, the fact of the matter is, if you're a woman and everyone sees you as a male, objectively, you're still a woman. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a bit confused here. I don't like the way that Riley is making these arguments, though.
My expressions will be interpreted different gender-wise based on what different parts of the world I'm in.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, but I think that most people don't have a coherent set of rules for that. I think they just literally follow their emotions.
Well, I think that no, but that's why I'm trying to make it a reasonableness standard, because it's not based necessarily on some kind of like hard set like criteria. It's based on how the average reasonable person in society interprets it, right? That's going to change all the time. That's going to vary from person to person. But overall, you look at like the average person in society, there's going to be like broad.
How would you know? How would you measure any of this? The average.
Right? That's going to change all the time. That's going to vary from person to person. But overall, you look at like the average person in society, there's going to be like broad trends in what people expect, right? In America, kind of like Western kind of idea.
Like a woman isn't a woman because the average person sees someone as a woman. I just don't agree with that at all. Yeah, like to me, objectivity is something that exists no matter. Like me being male, my male sex is objective. Me being a trans woman or a woman is subjective, right? Because I'm not actually that. It's just that some people look at me and see a woman, so they perceive me as one.
Yeah, you have some broad trends like long hair, dresses.
Yeah. But I think those are like really.
I just say that because that's the only way we can confirm our senses, not hallucinations. I think I get you. Refusing to refer to sex, yeah. That's not new to me, unfortunately. Simplifying when I say it, it's just that degree. Okay, no, I think I get you. Don't worry.
Really, like, I think those are incredibly fuzzy, like in my experience as well.
It might be fuzzy, but we're talking about like broad averages, right? Like broad, and those can change over time. Those can be time and context specific, right? But like broadly speaking, we're just talking about like the average image of a woman in society, and that can change. And people like activists can push that meaning to change all the time. That's like a really important aspect of what a lot of like trans activists, not using that term disparagingly, but like actually, that's like a lot of like what the work and what they do entails is that they push the average reasonable interpretation of what it means to be a gender by virtue of their activism. A really good example is like normalizing the idea that a woman does not have to have a certain kind of voice, right?
True.
There was probably a point in history where the average reasonable person expected that a woman have a certain kind of voice or have a voice within a certain range of voices, right?
Sure. But, I mean, I think that still exists to this day. I mean, I get mistreated all the time based on that.
I think that as time progresses and trans women become more normalized in society, especially trans women who have voices which are not conventional to how the average reasonable person expects for voices to sound, then that expectation changes to the point where now the average reasonable person does not necessarily require that as a sufficient or necessary condition to be categorized.
She's like, we're trying to see that this isn't really how things ended up either.
Where the average reasonable person expected that a woman have a certain kind of voice or have a voice within a certain...
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, like, people still hear a male voice or a female voice. That's just kind of how it is. I'm guessing this person is saying, like, trans, like, what is it? Like, trans acceptance will get to a certain place where you won't hear, like, male and female voices anymore. But that isn't the world we live in. I mean, this is from 2021, and things kind of changed since then, you know?
Certain range of voices, right?
Sure. I mean, I think that still exists to this day. I mean, I get mistreated all the time based on that.
I think that as time progresses and trans women become more normalized in society, especially trans women who have voices which are not conventional to how the average reasonable person expects for voices to sound, then that expectation changes to the point where now the average reasonable person does not necessarily require that as a sufficient or necessary condition to be categorized in what they define as a woman.
I think we're playing like a little fast and loose with those, but yeah, I see what you're saying. You're saying that this can be changed, but I guess I'm just a little lost as to what the like why any of this would matter with regard to what we decide like being trans means.
Hold on. All right, let me go back. So it's necessary because so when we're bringing it back into what it means to be trans, well, I mean, I guess it goes to what it means to be a gender generally. Because if we're accepting that trans people are a gender which is contrary to the one that they were assigned at birth, then we need to be able to find what a gender is because what a gender is necessary to understand. Like it's a categorization that's necessary to understand what it means to be trans. Because if you are gender contrary to what you were assigned at birth, then we need to know what a gender is.
Yeah. And again, are we saying gender? Well, do we mean sex, or are we talking about something else? And if we're going to get a explanation of how this person describes gender, you know, I call misgender to this day. So the woman that looks like a dog whacker. Holy shit.
So when we're bringing it back into what it means to be trans, well, I mean, I guess it goes to what it means to be a gender generally. Because if we're accepting that trans people are a gender which is contrary to the one that they were assigned at birth, then we need to be able to find what a gender is because what a gender is necessary to understand. Like it's a categorization that's necessary to understand what it means to be trans. Because if you are gender contrary to what you were assigned at birth, then we need to know what a gender is. You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would argue that, again, like, I would point out that I don't think that, like, our society has consistent or sensical, even the average reasonable person doesn't tend to have consistent or sensical understandings of what gender or sex is.
I don't think that that's the case. I think that they're like broad trends. I don't think that everyone's idea of what it means to be a woman is exactly the same, but I think that they're like broad trends, right?
But when you have someone, when you do have...
Well, most people's consideration of what a woman is an adult human female. That's still, like, the default.
A comparable idea of what, like, when you think woman, most people have, like, some vague ideas that come to their mind.
Sure, but so do people. But when you say a transgender person, they'd have that too. There's all kinds of like stereotypes and assumptions, and those vary greatly.
Well, sure, but I mean, like that's a matter not of like that's not necessarily an inherent flaw. That's just a matter of like activism to show other people. That's a matter of like shifting the idea of what the average reasonable person believes, right?
Maybe
because like here's I guess like to clarify.
Yeah, so this is the kind of stuff. It hasn't panned out this way in reality. So like there has been an effort to like shift what the culture means by man and woman, but it's not gone as well as I think Riley was hoping it would. If that makes sense.
Okay. In an objective sense, I think it's very important. Hold on, nothing about what other people think about me makes me a woman, though. Well, I think that like I'm trying to explain like objectivity. All right.
Yeah.
Because people don't. I'm trying to make sure that people.
Yeah. The problem is she's been explaining objectivity in a way that doesn't make any sense. Like, what's objective is what's true and real, irrespective of what people think. It's not just, well, is what the average person thinks. That's not objective at all. the average person can think all kinds of things that are actually completely wrong. And therefore, how can that be objectivity?
People understand like the term objectivity, and that's different from subjectivity, and that those are two different things, and that they have often clashes, and that they don't necessarily overlap, but for a lot of people that they do. And so like when we're talking about objectivity, right? When we're getting into this question of like, okay, so you have a trans woman, let's say that we're a trans woman in early 2000s, okay? Let's say that you're also a trans woman who did not have a ton of access to gender-affirming care earlier in life. Sure. And so you go on through life, and then later on in life, you're like, oh shit, I'm trans, but also it's early 2000s. People are going to treat me shittily, but whatever, I'm going to fucking own it. I'm going to start going on HRT. I'm going to start presenting femme. Fuck boy moding. I'm just going to go straight into it, right? Sure. Now, I think that there is a really compelling argument that that person subjectively is a woman, right? They have taken they've taken a lot of materially important steps to, for example, like start identifying as a woman, to start expressing themselves as a woman, to start telling other people that they're a woman. Like they took those steps because they realized they had to do that. Like it's not just a choice. Like they realized that they were intrinsically a woman, right? Sure. But then when they go out, really important steps to, for example, like start identifying as a woman, to start expressing themselves as a woman, to start telling other people that they're a woman. Like they took those steps because they realized they had to do that. Like it's not just a choice. Like they realized that they were.
So this part, we're trying to say basically there must be something intrinsic to being a woman that isn't being female, I guess. So I'm starting to understand a bit better what she's saying. The way she puts her arguments sometimes, it really doesn't resonate with me. I think they need to read dictionary and find the word intersect subjectivity. Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, I think someone explained it a little bit ago. But when she talks about objectivity, she's just not describing what I understand it to be, certainly.
Or intrinsically a woman, right? Sure. But then when they go outside.
Yeah, because someone like this is trying to find, like, what makes trans women women. And the thing is, I've had that same kind of thought process. But I don't know. When I think to myself, well, what womanhood have I taken on? What womanhood is it possible for me to have taken on? I draw a blank. Like, honestly, I think that I transitioned because I failed at being a man. I don't know. None of that makes you a woman, though. Yeah, they don't want it to be female soul because that sounds crazy. So they have to find another way of... I don't know if they're putting it like a female soul, because maybe there could be something that is the actual essence of being a woman that can exist in a male. I don't know. But we don't have anything down as that. We don't understand that there is something existing within certain males, you know what I mean? That make us this, you know? Like, ultimately, I think we're like shooting at ghosts trying to do stuff like this. And very quickly, I'm like, well, I don't think anything makes me a woman.
They may not be treated as a woman because society is at this point, based on the average reasonable person.
I'm kind of confused about the argument here. Are they saying that they should have rights? What rights that men in general don't have?
I don't think they're talking about rights so much. They're talking about, like, what is a woman and in what way is a trans woman a woman? I think Riley wants there to be something intrinsic, but obviously we haven't found anything intrinsic. Demon Mama just thinks anyone is anything they call themselves. So at the moment, I'm kind of... I don't know that I'm agreeing with either of them on anything. I just know that this gets kind of ridiculous after a while. Also, thank you for the $1, Sami Yamazaki.
Of what a woman means, they may go outside and they may not be treated as a woman. That is not necessarily, like, that has nothing to do with their subjectivity, like with their subjective understanding of gender. And that's not saying anything negative about their subjective understanding of gender. Like, subjectively, they are completely 100% a woman, right? But there also is a meaningful understanding of being able to address the fact that, like, they're not treated.
Yeah, this is like saying subjectively they're a mule deer.
As a woman in society.
Well, yeah, but
right?
I mean, that's just passing, right? This is just passing politics, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, that's changing, right? Because we're able to.
Well, yeah, we're changing passing politics, but we're not changing what it means to be a woman. We're just changing the politics of passing.
I think that we kind of are changing what it means to be a woman, right?
Maybe.
Like, at least in an objective.
I mean,
sense.
I would argue that, like, in an objective.
No, you're not. That's the problem. For you to change what it means to be a woman in an objective sense, you need to be able to find something that confirms that you're a woman, that is objectively within you, and that has not been done. I think there has been some movement, like socially, on what people will call a woman. But I think Riley might be overstating it somehow. Somewhat, should I say.
sense. Like, again, I would argue that in an objective sense, it's almost incoherent. There are tons and tons of
well, yeah, like, I mean, like in a sense, yeah, like gender is all societally constructed, right? But that means it's necessarily going to change over time. Like, sure, it's all incoherent, but there's some meaning to what it means to be a woman, right? Like being a woman means something. I think that something changes over time, but it means something.
Well, I mean,
yeah, we're trying to establish that being a woman means anything, because if men can just start calling themselves women, then it's just people calling themselves women and deciding that means you're a woman. And like to Demon Mama, there's probably not much more to it than that. I think this person probably has like gender dysphoria on some level. But like, I don't know. This is painful. This is actually quite painful. I thought Riley was a bit better than this, if I'm honest. I'm a bit shocked because this is kind of dog shit.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like saying,
all right, no, just define for me. Hold on, I just need to make sure. Like, define for me what a woman is. I know that Turf sees this all the time. I just need to hear, like, just to understand, like, what is a woman?
Yeah, I think a woman is a person who identifies as a woman.
Like, there you go. A woman is a person who identifies as a woman. That's retarded. It can't be that. Doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're a female and you don't have the capacity to identify as anything, then what are you? Well, you're still a woman because you're an adult female. I didn't say adult before, but let's make that assumption. So then you just default back to adult human female anyway. So this is like a sub-definition at best, but it doesn't actually make any sense because calling yourself a thing very rarely makes you that thing. And something like a woman is an objective thing. It means an adult human female. To me, woman is a sex term, not a gender term. So yeah, like, Demon Mama is completely wrong here.
Like, I literally think it's that simple.
No.
And like, the other problem obviously is, that just begs the question again, what is a woman? Well, anyone who identifies as a woman. Okay, so what's a woman then? And then, additional to that, what does it actually mean to identify as a woman?
No, you can't do that. That gets you a infinite regress. Like, it's a logical fallacy. You cannot just say that.
Well, yeah, but I think that identify like womanhood is a incoherent concept. That
No, I'm not.
No, it's not. Womanhood refers to being female. Is not incoherent at all. It becomes incoherent because we try and make it fit men. So we've got on the one hand someone who wants there to be some mechanism by which males can like achieve womanhood. And on the other, you've got someone who thinks that anyone can just call himself a woman. That is a thing. So I don't know. Can I call myself a mule deer? Can Rachel Dolezal call herself black? You'd have to ask, why is this unique to like sex or gender? Like there's so many issues with what Demon Mama is saying.
I'm not hearing about incoherent. Like, you cannot just say that the definition of something is identifying as something.
I don't know. I think you can, because the fact that
no, you can't. You really can't. Like, this is like dog shit. I've said a lot about Riley Grace Roshong. This is dog shit. You can't. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I think you actually can. Like, it's frustrating, but this is a limitation of language. It is a linguistic limitation. I mean, you can say it's a logical fallacy all you want, but like it's and I agree with you that the wording doesn't make sense. But I mean, we can get into fucking Wittgenstein if you want to. It always comes back to Wittgenstein, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but
fine.
yeah, we can talk about linguistics. Like, the fact of the matter is that like
yeah, because that's what you're talking about is linguistics. There's no biology present, but the problem is there's no biological function for transgenderism. It's like a psychological thing. And the way that you get regarded as a woman when you're not a woman, bearing in mind a woman is an adult human female, is linguistically. But that's just words. None of that is objective in any sense whatsoever.
What makes you human? Like, we don't have any coherent definition for what really makes a human. We choose we decide.
Woman is an incoherent concept, but trans and sex independent gender are super duper real and legit. Yeah, it seems about right.
What human means.
You can't just make human being a human. Like, you can't just say that X equals X.
I mean,
right?
I think that a woman is a person who identifies as a woman. I think that.
So what's a woman then? Like, oh my god. Like, this is gonna start getting interesting soon, because like, oh, it's painful. Hey, make sure you like the stream, by the way. Make sure you check the links in my description. You can donate. You can super chat via Streamlabs. You can check out some music that I've made. You can buy or listen on Spotify. Maybe save it onto your follows or whatever. You can join my Discord, maybe, if it works. You can subscribe on Twitch. Anyway.
Wait, yes, you literally can. If that is, right, wait, yes, you actually can, because you're saying that that the state of womanhood is simply choosing to claim womanhood, saying I'm a woman. There you are. There you have it. That is perfectly fine. That's like saying
no, that's not perfectly fine. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Like, it's an identifier. It's if you choose to take this title onto yourself, then you have that title. It is a free title to be taken.
Like, you need to be careful. This is literally, all right, so when people make the attack helicopter meme, this is literally the logic that gets you into the house.
Nope, actually it isn't.
Then how is it? All right, then explain to me how that...
No, it is. It is. I'm a woman when I'm male. Okay, well, I'm an attack helicopter. It's the same fucking shit. Like... We're going to pretend that identity has some kind of sacred thing about it or something. But no one can see your identity. No one knows what you identify as. And people generally don't really care. Because it doesn't matter to anyone except the person identifying.
That's different. Like, I'm really trying to be, like, thoughtful with this.
Sure. I mean, it sounds like you're getting a little frustrated about it, but that's fine. Like, if you want to, like, I mean, I'm okay with it.
Like, we're poking the bear a bit here. Listen. At a certain point, with someone like Demon Mama, the discussion ends, and it's just about bullshit. It's just about poking the other person until they start reacting, and then you can start playing the victim. Then you can start complaining about their behavior, and you're not talking about the actual substance anymore, which she's already made her mind up. A woman is just anyone that calls himself a woman. Okay, what's a woman then? And then it just becomes meta conversations and like time wasting. That's how most of like Demon Mama's shit goes. Demon Mama thinks dear gender is valid and its pronouns. But I'm not talking about being a dear gender. I'm talking about actually, I'm a human, but I'm actually a deer. Like, Demon Mama is doing the attack helicopter thing. That's literally what the parody means. You're calling yourself something you can't be. You're calling yourself something that you're not.
What's that?
No, I mean, like, it is a little, like, all right, sure, it is a little bit frustrating because, I mean, like, I care a lot about making sure that our arguments are able to stand up to scrutiny.
Google Matt Walsh without a beard. Okay, why not? Why not? Why not, indeed? I mean, it looks okay, I guess. Some of these old pictures are fucking weird. Yeah, I don't know. Strange. He's a bit of an odd-looking guy. I used to know someone that like looked like Matt Walsh.
This is a very...
Hey, don't hour us. I'm an individual and you're an individual.
Yeah, they're making it very complicated. Well, Riley Grace Roshong is. She's trying to overcomplicate it. Demon Mama wants it to be incredibly simple because her tiny pea brain can only handle so much. So Demon Mama just wants it to be, if you call yourself it, you are it. And then call yourself a woman. Oh, I'm a woman now. Well, you're not, unfortunately. You're still a man. But Riley wants there to be some actual mechanism by which a person is a woman when they're male. And that doesn't exist.
I'm not going to be police.
Okay, you are a representative, or you are acting as a representative of a larger community. All right, when I'm saying us, yes, like you are not just acting as an individual here.
Yeah, but yeah, actually, I mean, that is true. You sound a lot like Destiny right now, to be completely honest.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck? I'm pretty sure, like, Demon Mom and Destiny hated each other at this stage, so, like, yeah, that makes sense. Don't know why so many of these leftoids, like, invoke people like Destiny. Like, who cares? He's not here, is he?
No. Wait, why are you attacking me personally?
I'm not attacking you personally. I'm just pointing out that in this moment, like, you're saying, you're basically implying that if I have like a flawed argument, that I'm somehow misrepresenting the trans community, and I don't think that's fine.
Hold on. Don't take my words out of context. I'm not saying that you're misrepresenting the trans community. I'm saying that because you're a public figure, I want to make sure that your arguments have strong validity.
I want to make sure your arguments have strong validity. I wouldn't want you representing us poorly.
I can guarantee you, I have done a ton of work to make sure.
Yeah, the debate is over at this point. Like, if you're trying to get any actual conversation here, or actually have some kind of back and forth where there's any kind of movement of positions or whatever, that's all done. Demon Mama lost a hippy dippy debate and never got over it. Oh my god, the video of Demon Mama whining for like hours after that hippy dippy thing, and like that Vadim guy coming in to bat for her, that shit is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I don't care if it's like Destiny content and it's actually kind of disgusting. That whole thing was hysterical to me. Demon Mama is actually a child.
Sure that they are able to stand up to scrutiny. I've gone
likewise,
against
me too. Also, I've been kicking at this a bit long.
Yeah, and she like won't shut up now. just trying to poke the bear. The conversation itself is over. It's just going to be bullshit from here on out.
Well, then you have to.
I mean, what is this supposed to be like a measuring contest? I'm not trying to make a measuring contest. I'm literally like, don't make this into like a competition.
Wait a second. Hold on. Let's take a second. You started getting worked up. I pointed out that this was becoming emotional.
Like, the reason I'm getting worked up is because you're not
listening. Meta conversation is what I'm talking about.
Listening to me. Like,
wait, hold on a second.
No. Can you define a woman? Hold on. Are you talking to me? Is Riley struggling with identity not being objective? No, you cannot. Do I need to talk about this? All right. Do people not understand this concept? X equals.
Identity is subjective, in my opinion. And the thing is, what if someone's wrong? What if someone's self-perception is flawed? What then? Are they a woman still? They might also think that they are a fucking mule deer. Well, can they be correct in their assertion that they're a woman when they're male, but incorrect about their assertion they're a mule deer when they're actually a human being? You know what I mean?
Y plus X. All right, do you see a problem with that?
How do you define women?
X equals Y plus X.
X equals Y plus X? I don't see how this is coherent. Like, how does that tie back to anything at all?
All right, no, because this is what you're doing. If you say that being a woman, X, equals identifying Y as a woman, X, this is what you're proposing logically.
Let me ask you, how do you define woman?
All right, I will go through it again. All right, I define a woman as a gender. A gender is based both objectively and subjectively. Objectively meaning it's comprised of A, the totality of one's social expressions, B, the average reasonable person's interpretations of those expressions, and C, the average reasonable person's categorization of one based on those interpretations.
I don't think this is objectivity. I think Riley is wrong about a whole bunch of stuff.
And 2, subjectively, meaning it's comprised of the totality of one's involuntary thought processes, which lead one to make those expressions. That is in no way contradictory, like it completely avoids this issue, which is an infinite regress. Like, it's meaningless. This is logically meaningless.
Okay, so your definition is that woman is a gender, yes. And that a gender is defined by what other people decide you are and what you decide you are.
No. Well, I mean, it's defined based on, first, objectivity, which means, and I'll say it again, objectivity.
Okay, I get it. Like, you don't need to do little like.
Well, you asked me to clarify.
I'm trying to genuinely clarify, but you don't have to like. You know.
These people are such dorks. Yep, true. Like, this makes me seem cool.
Do the little snipies, because I mean, if again, like,
wait, what little
like, I'll explain it again then. Like, that is like not like, you know, you don't. I'm just trying to get where you're coming from. Like, you don't have to like.
Yeah, see, Demon Mama is one of those people. She's very stupid, but you can't treat her like she's stupid. But the problem is, Riley's actually been doing the opposite. She's been trying to treat Demon Mama as if she's like way smarter than she is. Which I don't know why you do that. Like, one thing I really remember about like these kind of people, this like space in time or whatever, is like people would actually give people like Demon Mama actual credence. Like, act as if this kind of person is like smart in any way, shape or form. Like, play the ultimate kid gloves. Well, yeah, Demon Mama's like good at this, that, and the... She sucks. This person sucks. There is no reason for this person to be getting on the internet and telling people what to think about like gender and stuff like that. This person sucks. And people gave them so much fucking credence. It was ridiculous. I don't know why. There were very few people at the time that were just writing this person off as a fucking freak. Which, weirdly enough, Destiny being one of them, actually being right about this person. So many people gave this person so much credence. Like, it's laughable to me. Like, seemingly Riley Grace Roshong came in thinking this would be some kind of normal discussion or something. It's so bizarre. Like, I'm glad people are more honest now about people like Demon Mama. Because it felt like most people were just bullshitting at the time. Like, pretending this person has so much more worth than they do. I almost agree with that, actually. I think presentation expression should matter. That's why self-ID is ridiculous. Well, I mean, things like presentation and expression, they can show how, like, serious you are about your newfound gender identity, I guess. And, like, people are more likely to subjectively see you as a woman if you actually make an effort to look like one. But the way Riley is using, like, objective, I just don't think that's how it works. I don't think what she's describing is objectivity, like, at all.
You know.
Then, all right, then please tell me. I'm not trying to be angry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I like you. I'm trying to be fine.
All of this is so unnecessary. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
right.
I mean.
Tell me where in any of my definition of what it means to be a gender there's any misunderstanding.
Well, I was doing just that. What I'm saying is that what I'm trying to ask is that if your definition is that a gender equals what society understands you as, which is your objective, and what? Okay, so then
that's not what I said.
Okay, Explain to me again.
I said it's the totality of your social expressions, how society interprets those social expressions, and society's categorization of you based on those social expressions.
Okay.
That's objective gender.
So then continue.
All right. And then you have subjective gender, which looks at the totality of your involuntary thought processes. Like, it's not just a choice. It's not just something that people do. Every trans person can have this. You can be non-binary. You can be literally any gender. All right. And as long as you have involuntary thought processes which motivate your choice to be your gender, then that's objective gender. All right. You are that person. You are that gender subjectively. Sometimes objective and subjective gender conflict. Often this is the case for people who are experiencing dysphoria or who are in the closet, right? If you have a subjective understanding of gender, like if you believe yourself to be a woman, and yet society interprets your social expressions to treat you as a guy, you're probably going to experience gender dysphoria, right? That's often what it means to experience gender dysphoria, is that your understanding, your subjective understanding of your gender is different from how society.
I don't think this is gender dysphoria either. Gender dysphoria is just being unhappy with your sex. Like, we're really... I don't think Riley is, like, stupid. She's got some extremely bizarre ideas that I can't quite make head or tail of. And I don't think she knows what the word objective means, quite honestly.
Society is treating you, right? That doesn't make you less of a woman. That's acknowledging that society is not treating you in the way that you want them to interpret your expressions.
Okay, but you do realize that in your definition of gender, you use the word gender 2 times. So you said that gender is a totality of objective gender and subjective gender. So how can gender be defined?
No. Gender is, there's 2 types of gender.
Okay, so which one of those is true gender?
There's no. What do you mean? Which one of those is true gender? There's no.
If a woman if a woman is a gender, then there has to be one of those that is used to define what a gender is. But
no, both of them can be different genders. They're different things.
Okay, so you think then a woman
you can define woman objectively. You can define it subjectively. Those are different.
Okay, so then how would one person?
To me, objective gender would be sex, and then subjective is like what people think of you or what you see yourself as. That kind of thing is subjective. But we're so scared of the concept of sex because it kind of just invalidates all this shit anyway.
How would one...
I really wish someone would ask them the same questions on transracialism. I'm sure probably someone has somewhere or other.
Person be a woman if there are 2, unless you're saying that there is not actually woman, but there is actually social woman and there is non...
Well, you can subjectively be a woman and objectively be a man. That probably does describe most trans people, or most trans women, at least some trans women.
So internal woman.
I mean, like, there's 2 different ways to use woman. Like, there's 2 different ways to define gender. So you're going to have 2 different ways to apply woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. But you do realize that, like, that's you're saying that there are 2 different words that you use the same word for. Because if you define woman,
a woman is a gender. There are 2 different types of gender.
Okay. So a woman is a gender.
Yes.
See, I don't think a woman is a gender either. I think woman is an adult human female. Like, it's a sex term. And it's species specific. And it refers to being of age, you know. And obviously that part is more subjective because to be of age depends on where you are, depends on your surroundings view of like adulthood. But a girl becomes a woman irrespective of where you put the line. It's just that some people mature quicker than others, you know.
There are 2 types of gender.
Yes.
Okay. And
you can have objective woman and you can have subjective woman. Those are different.
Okay. So then, which one of those determines whether you're a woman or not?
They both can determine if you're a woman. So you can be a woman subjectively and you can be a woman objectively. Those are different things. They often overlap for a lot of people. Like if you're a passing trans woman, they overlap for you. But those can be different.
Okay. So
there's no I want you to eliminate the idea of like which one of those is the true gender from your mind. They're both equivalent.
So the thing is, that's almost a good question in a way, because it's like, well, why does your sex not trump anything that other people say or anything that you think to yourself? You know what I mean? But Demon Mama has the same investment in pretending sex doesn't exist, because that means that you're a man. You know what I mean?
I feel like in this case, this goes towards my argument, which is that...
What do you mean it goes towards your
Hold on. Well, let me explain real quick. Because if what you're saying is that there are 2 separate versions of the word woman, and both of them are completely different and essentially irreconcilable in certain cases.
They're not completely different.
I mean, they are. You've said that one is what your internal understanding of your gender is, and one is the external understanding of gender.
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't.
You did.
You can't say it's your internal understanding of your gender because that would entail an infinite regress.
You just described understanding of gender.
No, completely different.
I mean, they are. You've said that one is what your internal understanding of your gender is, and one is the external understanding of gender.
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't.
You did.
You can't say it's your internal understanding of your gender because that would entail an infinite regress.
You just described. Yeah.
Objective woman means being female. I agree. Objective gender is just sex. And you can say, well, subjectively, I'm a woman. Well, yeah, probably. That doesn't actually mean that that's what you are, though. Like, oh my God.
Okay, my chat is saying you definitely did do this, but
no, I definitely didn't. I'll read it.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can. I want to make sure that we can get the. I want to make sure we can get across this.
You can pull up my research doc. I have it right there. I'm literally just reading from it.
That's fine, Riley. Like, okay, there are two types.
Are you talking down to me? You don't have to demean me.
I'm not talking down.
I'm literally trying to help you understand.
I'm so sensitive. Have you noticed? Earlier, Demon Mama, like, she says, I'll describe it again, and Demon Mama's like, oh, you're sniping at me. Is Demon Mama into obfuscation? Yes, heavily. You have to obfuscate if you have this kind of belief system, because it doesn't make sense. So obfuscation is like your only recourse, because nothing that Demon Mama believes really makes any sense at all. But yeah, they're so sensitive. Like, Demon Mama uses Riley's name. She starts getting offended. Riley says, I'll explain it again. Demon Mama gets offended. This is so stupid. You know, we've reached the dregs of argumentation when Demon Mama's making a correct point. Well, the problem is Riley's trying to be way too clever. She's talking to someone who's a bit of a moron, yes. But in certain ways is kind of a bit more grounded in reality than Riley. Certain very specific ways.
You just described. Yeah, okay. My chat is saying you definitely did do this, but
no, I definitely didn't. I'll read it.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can. I want to make sure that we can get the. I want to make sure we can get across this.
You can pull up my research doc. I have it right there. I'm literally just reading from it.
That's fine, Riley. Like, okay, there are two types.
Are you talking down to me? You don't have to demean me.
I'm not talking down.
I'm literally trying to help you understand, like, a legitimate, like,
Riley.
I'm not trying, like, this is like the equivalent of arguing to someone whether or not 2 + 2 is 4, right? Like, it is, like, what you are saying, like, just identifying as a woman is a woman. Like, that is an infinite regress. There's no, like, buts about it. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, but, like, we recognize that, like, tautologies are, like, what you're describing is a tautology, correct?
What do you mean I'm describing a tautology? I'm describing, like, math. Like, this is, like, basic logic. This is not, like, what do you mean I'm describing a tautology?
Is that not true? Is that not saying that a thing is a thing is not a tautology? Is that not correct? And the tautologies are not necessarily logically fallible. For example, A equals A. We recognize and acknowledge that A equals A.
No. When you have, like, a logical... All right, so hold on. I need to explain logic now. You cannot just say that
I'm gonna call this an end.
No, you cannot say... No, you cannot say...
Nope.
Wait, hold on. Don't interrupt me. No, I'm actually responding.
No, wait.
Why are you interrupting me? I know what you're saying, and I can tell you why that's not an accurate representation of what you're saying.
There's something so inorganic about a lot of the ways that these people, like, get angry. I don't know what it is. Like, I watched back, like, my conversation with Alec Gunter, and I'll happily admit, I'm not a good debater. I didn't do well in the conversation. But he gets angry in, like, such an inorganic way, where it doesn't feel like there's any reason for either of them to be getting angry, yet they are anyway. And I mean, I like to play on that if I'm talking to someone, because it's funny watching someone else get angry for no reason when the other person is clearly not, like, following with them. But it's so strange. Oh man, I love like shitty debates. I need to watch more of this kind of content, honestly. I think it's the future of my channel is just watching the dumbest debates I can find.
No. When you have, like, a logical... All right, so hold on. I need to explain logic now. You cannot just say that
I'm gonna call this an end.
No, you cannot say... No, you cannot say...
Nope.
Wait, hold on. Don't interrupt me. No, I'm actually responding.
No, wait.
Why are you interrupting me? I know what you're saying, and I can tell you why that's not an accurate representation of what you're saying.
All right, so...
Okay. Are you gonna let
this person gets off on it, by the way. This person gets off on it. Riley seems actually stressed. I'll give her one thing. She seems actually sincere in, like, wanting to find a way of being a male but being objectively a woman, which good luck to you. I don't think that's possible, but good luck to you. Demon Mama doesn't give a shit. Like, the debate has been over for a decent while. This person is just, like, fucking around at this point. And you can tell that they enjoy, like, pissing people off on a certain level.
Let me explain this, right? When you define what something is...
Not right now, not Riley.
Wait, what do you mean you're not?
No, I'm not. Because I can tell where this is going. You were, like... This has gotten to a point where, like, it's gotten, like, super, super intense really quickly, and now we're getting...
You're not listening to me. Riley, please. No, this is actually...
Riley, I have tried to talk...
Why are you demeaning me about this?
I am not talking down to you, Riley. I'm simply trying to talk.
Always did the no. She might do. I can't remember if Demon Mama does that in this. That's not where the clip's from, but...
Right now,
what do you mean? No,
Riley.
All right, you know, fine. I'm going to talk to you exactly the same way that you're talking to me, okay?
Do you think that I'm...
Listen, do you think that I'm actually trying to harm you right now? I'm literally just trying to explain, like, a super simple mathematical concept to you. Like, why are you getting so heated about this?
Riley, I didn't do that to you at all. I'm in fact being remarkably calm because I...
She's just a fucking troll. In a way, it's kind of funny. But I can also, like, I don't know, Riley Grace comes in as someone who's also trans that just thinks they're going to have, like, a conversation. So I feel bad for her in a sense, but, like, Jesus Christ.
You kept accusing me of being angry and being like...
No, I asked you if you were getting frustrated. Now, at one point, I will admit...
Yeah, no, I am getting frustrated because you're a public figure, and if you make a bad argument, other people adopt your bad argument, then you are going to...
So you are making the... This is why I said... So I was correct in saying that you're making the Destiny argument.
What do you mean I'm making the Destiny argument?
You're actually...
Oh, you are making the Destiny argument. Like, wow. Amazing. Who was like waiting for you to get the epic dunk on whether she's making a Destiny argument or not?
Saying, you're a public figure. Well, guess what? Right now, you are being cringe. And as a representative, a public figure, as a representative and a public figure who is representing trans people, by your own argument, your cringiness right now.
Wait, hold on. How am I being cringe? By pointing out how you are being clearly logically inconsistent? How the fuck is that being cringe? I'm looking at people to make sure that they don't make dumb fuck arguments.
She's really, really mad now. Oh my god. In a sense, I still feel bad, but I don't know. This is what you get, I think. For trying to make the logical, fucking can't speak today. This is what you get for trying to make the illogical logical. You then have to try and reason with other similarly illogical people, but who are trying less hard to make their logic make any sense. Like, Jesus Christ.
And lead themselves into bad situations.
Do you see why?
Yeah, this person hates Destiny, so it makes sense that they'll bring him up. I need to go back just because she's like actually losing it. Jesus Christ. I'm on no one's side here, to be clear. I don't agree with either of these people. I think Riley is a bit hard done by in that she came here for more of a serious conversation than what she's getting. But then people should have understood Demon Mama by now. This is what I mean. People gave this person so much credence, and they suck. There's nothing redeeming about this person. I guess they're quite good at making people angry, but that's not actually a very hard thing to do.
You're a public figure. Well, guess what? Right now, you are being cringe, and as a representative, a public figure, as a representative and a public figure who is representing trans people, by your own argument, your cringiness right now.
Wait. The thing is, Demon Mama is cringe. Demon Mom is the most cringe fucking person to ever fucking cringe. Makes you miss Vorsh. Well, listen, this is one of Vorsh's like little skinwalkers. He's got loads of them.
Wait, how am I being cringe? By pointing out how you are being clearly logically inconsistent? How the fuck is that being cringe? I'm looking at people to make sure that they don't make dumb fuck arguments and lead themselves into bad situations.
Do you see why? Riley. This is exactly why. No, stop this.
I'm harming people when you are literally harming people and imputing me morally.
Riley, holy God. This is why I said that we should stop this like a while ago, like a significant while ago.
You aren't even like giving any effort to listen to my argument.
Riley, you're literally shouting over me while I'm trying to say things multiple times.
No. You have not been able to incorporate anything I've said so far. Not once. You literally are just like, oh, a logical regret. Oh, I just don't care about that. That just doesn't matter to me.
Okay, I've muted Riley. Just so you know, I've been trying to say something multiple times, just trying to get my point across that I think this is getting intense, and I've tried to ask Riley to let me finish a sentence. Riley has not. I've now muted Riley. Okay? I don't like this either, okay? Now, I was very carefully trying to question some of these positions, and it got increasingly intense. And when I noticed that and said, hey, like, if there's...
By the way, I have a feeling this person is probably not someone that anyone wants to date. I don't know why you'd look at this person and think, yeah, that's someone I want to go out with. But they have, like, actual, like, abuser energy. I'm not saying this person's actually an abuser, although they're fine with their polycule member. They're fine with their polycule member showing off their sex toy collection to like teenagers on Discord, which is fucking rank. But like, Jesus Christ, this person grosses me out sometimes. Nasty human being.
Multiple times, just trying to get my point across that I think this is getting intense, and I've tried to ask Riley to let me finish a sentence. Riley has not.
Yeah. Demon Mama has like played their fair share in like raising the temperature of this conversation. I think Demon Mama was the first one to complain about being spoken down to. And then, like, Riley started doing it after. But the thing is, like, I don't trust Demon Mama at all with anything. I think this person is, like, trying to get this reaction now so that they can then speak down to them in this manner.
I've now muted Riley, okay? I don't like this either, okay? Now, I was very carefully trying to...
I don't like this either. She was grinning earlier. You were grinning earlier. Every time you got a bit of a rise out of this person, you're like grinning about it. This person is like actually a gaslighter.
Question some of these positions, and it got increasingly intense. And when I noticed that and said, hey, like, if there's no need to make a comment here like that, we calmed it down a little bit. But this,
yeah, I'm sure Demon Mama did this first as well. This person is nasty.
This is a little bit weird, and I don't understand. And I don't understand why I'm being talked to as though I'm causing some kind of... You're a public figure who needs to... This is silly. And I reserve the right on my own show to control what I engage in, okay? Now, I agree that there are some differences. We might have different definitions. We might have different views on this issue. But that doesn't mean that you get to shout at me or shout down on me. That doesn't mean that you get to dictate what I do on my show. I'm on like hour 9 now of my show, okay? Now, we can go back and we can review this VOD in the future, okay? I'm going to unmute and see if we can come to some peace here, because this has gone way off the rails. And it's not something that I want to do. Riley.
Hi.
Hi. Okay.
So, I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to talk at this exact tone. And I want to just work this out, okay?
Sure.
I care a lot about this.
That's fine. I do too.
Okay, then. Can you please...
I press X to doubt. This person doesn't care about anything. They'll call themselves a woman and decide they're a woman regardless. This is not... The worst thing is, people get duped by this shit. It's so fucking annoying. It's so annoying. Like one of the people in Riley's chat being like, oh, I think they just want to talk when it's calmer. You obviously know fuck all about Demon Mama if that's what you think is going on here. I'm pretty sure all the comments here are like no comment chick I'm imagining is kind of down with Demon Mama's brand of retardation, because most of the comments that I looked at, like, you know, it's so ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know.
Please do me a favor, and I will do the same to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do not impugn my morality.
I didn't.
All right, certainly came across that you did. So
okay.
Please, even if you believe that you didn't, please do not.
Sure.
Okay. So, what about what about logical regress? So, do you acknowledge that that's a valid criticism of the idea that just saying that being a gender is identifying with that gender? Like, do you understand why that might come across as a problem to me?
Yeah, I can see where that could be a frustrating thing.
No, don't say frustrating. Do you understand, like, the concept of what a infinite regress is?
I mean, the idea that, like, that's just like a circular reasoning or something along those lines? And that's arbitrary?
Like, well, I mean, like, do you understand, like, what it is?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've got the idea of what you're saying. I mean, I'm not immediately familiar with, like, the dictionary definition of the concept, but if you'd like, I can look it up.
Okay. Do you mind if we do that? I really would feel comfortable.
Yeah, do you want to provide me the definition you're using?
Demon Mama's definitions and rules change to be convenient for whatever argument they're making. Changes with them. Yeah. There's like peak debate purgatory. It's the same with Vorsh. Like, it's got nothing to do with actually making any points or anything like that. It's just about fighting. like this person sucks. I have no idea why back in this kind of time, people were pretending that Demon Mama was worth anything.
I'll just Google it.
Okay, there we go.
All right.
It's still like bobbing as well. It's the worst thing. Feels like a facade in a lot of ways.
The first thing that came up was a Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy.
Sure.
I'm looking at that. Are you looking at that?
No, but I'm listening to you, so.
Okay. It says, I'm just reading from the first paragraph, An infinite regress is a series of appropriately related elements where a first member, but no last member, with a first member but no last member, where each element leads
the bully becoming the bully. Yeah. Interestingly, from what I remember, and I wish I didn't know this shit, because who fucking cares about any of these people? But Riley had a different debate with someone called Doe, who I think is one of Demon Mama's weird polycule. And like Demon Mama Riley started to exhibit similar behaviors to Demon Mama. Like muting this person. Like, I can't remember too much of the actual debate. Maybe I need to look at it at some point. But like, her conduct was like not cool. And I'm kind of siding with her in terms of like, Demon Mama is the one being a dick in this instance. Riley's just kind of sensitive. But like, it kind of changes round. So it's kind of it seems like a cycle, unfortunately.
to or generates the next in some sense. An infinite regress argument is an argument that makes an appeal to an infinite regress. Usually such arguments take the form of objections to a theory, with the fact that a theory implies an infinite regress being taken to be objectionable. That was a lot. Do you want me to explain what that means?
Yeah, the problem is you have to not talk down to Demon Mama, but Demon Mama is also stupid. So you have to simplify it. But I don't know. I don't know if Riley doesn't understand this kind of stuff as well as she thinks she does, bearing in mind the whole objectivity thing. I don't think she understands objectivity. But I don't know if Riley is even capable of dumbing it down. You know what I mean? Doe said it was fine to go out barefoot when your partner is a foot fetish. Yeah, they probably did. That person seems like a freak. But yeah, from what I remember, they had a conversation and Riley was not really acting in a very dignified way themselves, you know?
I mean, I think I've got the basic idea. I mean, sure.
Right, well, do you mind if we just walk through it?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, because the thing is, I can agree with someone in a debate and then say that I also think that they're not acting appropriately. I'll have to watch it at some point. I'm probably not explaining it super clearly, but I don't remember being very impressed with Riley's demeanor in that debate for sure.
Walk me through it.
Okay, so let's just take a basic formula. Let's say that x equals x plus y.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's the formula we've got.
Sure.
Okay, so if we have that situation, or I guess we have to let's make it y plus x because it'd just be easier to write out.
The thing is, I don't know if this even actually describes X as being a woman and what Y is identity. Maybe that makes sense, I guess. I don't know. Riley is not doing a good job dumbing it down for Demon Mama.
All right, what that means is that if we have x equals y plus x, that means that necessarily x can also equal y plus, and because x equals y plus x, that means that this would also equal y plus x.
Okay.
And then necessarily, we get into another problem, because now we still have x there. So we can have x equals y plus parentheses y plus parentheses y plus.
Yeah, because the basic thing is, well, you still haven't defined what a woman is, because x is a woman. And that's a male saying they're a woman, identifying as and then woman. But then it still doesn't, it's never defined what x is.
Plus x, two parentheses.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with people that I'm also critical of all the time. That's how it happens. And I'll watch people, I agree with them on some things and not on others. It's just it's kind of normal. I agree with Brianna Wu on a bunch of stuff.
Okay. And then we go beyond there. I mean, I hope that you see where this is going. You can just ...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. Yeah, I get what you're talking about.
So now let's do some substitution.
Okay.
Woman.
You do realize, though, that there is a significant difference between talking about linguistic meaning and raw logic, right?
Then this is logic, right? Defining what a term means is logic.
Well, I recognize that. But
yeah, so we're trying to define what a woman is, or what a gender is. All right? So if we're going to say that woman equals, substitute y for identification.
Okay.
Plus woman, well, that necessarily means that we have woman equals identification plus parentheses identification plus woman.
Okay.
Okay. And then going from there, woman equals
Lacanian variable. I actually don't know. I could look at what that means. I know very, very little. I know slightly about infinite regress and stuff. Okay, I have no idea.
Identification plus parentheses.
No, I think this is. I don't think that this is an accurate representation of my claim.
No. Yeah, Cope is kind of at the center of all this. We're trying to find ways of legitimizing the idea that males can be females. And they just have different standards. But Riley's standards are impossible, and Demon Mama's standards are stupid. You know what I mean?
No, when you say that
I say a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman.
Yes, it's a woman.
Yeah, the whole point. And I wish you'd just fucking say, well, then you still need to define what woman is.
Woman equals identification plus woman.
That woman has no intrinsic definition outside of being an identifier. That's what I'm saying.
So we know.
Yeah, that is insane.
woman equals identification plus woman.
That woman has no intrinsic definition outside of being an identifier. That's what I'm saying.
So we know
this person is just wrong. Like, that's not true. A woman isn't just a label. It means something. It's a label for a specific thing.
Okay.
Yes.
We know that
it's an identifier. It's a title. It has no other meaning.
No, we know that there's some meaning. We have literature being able to say what it is.
I disagree with that. I don't think that there's any other meaning. Why? I don't think that there's any other meaning besides...
No, there's no other meaning. So we're pretending that adult human female doesn't exist. Like, literally. Like, I don't know. In some ways, I feel like Riley should have known what Demon Mama's like. Because she'd been like this for a decent amount of time. This person has never been, like, good faith or, like, knowledgeable about anything, really. And, like, watching any of her content pretty quickly illuminates that.
All right, you understand what an argument is, right? An argument is an opinion plus evidence. So if you don't think it has any other meaning, what is your evidence that it has no other meaning?
Yeah, I can give you the...
If it has no meaning, why even identify as it? I'm calling myself a woman, and it means nothing except what, like, who identifies as it. It makes them that. So then what are you even doing? Like, it makes no sense. It's preposterous. It's ridiculous. It's utterly stupid.
The example of that, which is that no person uses the same definition of woman at all. We all have...
That isn't even true either. Most people just say it's a adult human female.
I'm not talking about everyone using the same definition.
So, okay, but are you going to allow me to see now? Now, here's what's happened now. Now,
okay, I actually... We're getting ready to scold again. Like, she's been calm this time, but we're still scolding.
Actually, I know. Let's have this conversation another time.
Wait, hold on. No,
because the fact of the matter is, like, why
are you raising your voice?
No, Riley, you have literally not...
as reasonable. No, I want.
You've literally not allowed me to talk. Every single time I try to talk, you have literally stepped in and interrupted me. And if you go back and you watch this segment back, you will see that I have literally not finished a sentence without you butting in and saying to do something. I'm trying to explain my concept of gender, and that doesn't seem to be capable in this conversation. And I can give you the example of that, which is that no person uses the same definition of woman at all. We all have...
I'm not talking about everyone using the same definition.
So, okay, but are you going to allow me to see now?
What were you going to say that was so important? Like, I don't know, man.
Now, here's what's happened now.
They made up these concepts to deal with the cope of being male. That is very true. That is very true.
Okay, I know.
Oh, yeah, this is exactly what I was saying, Bacon Sunny. So... no intrinsic definition. So why did Demon Mama's woman status require estrogen, traits like breasts, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, exactly. Like, it's completely preposterous. Like, nothing she's saying makes any fucking sense whatsoever.
Let's have this conversation another time.
Wait, hold on. No, because...
the fact of the matter is, like,
Why are you raising your voice?
No, Riley, you have literally not...
as reasonable... No, I want...
You've literally not allowed me to talk. Every single time I try to talk, you have literally stepped in and interrupted me. And if you go back and you watch this segment back...
Literally.
You will see that I have literally not finished a sentence without you butting in and saying to do something. I'm trying to explain my concept of gender. And that doesn't seem to be capable in this conversation. And what it feels like is that now I'm being held hostage in a conversation that I don't really feel super comfortable with. Because...
Held hostage? Just fucking leave, you pussy. Held hostage?
Why don't you feel comfortable? I'm trying... Like, how is my tone? Please tell me how my tone is bad. Please tell me how anything I'm saying right now is bad. I'm trying to be as...
Because I feel, and I could be wrong here, but I feel like there is a rippling under the surface of your words. There is there are unspoken things. And that's a read, and I recognize that's a read, and I recognize that's a subjective read, but I have reasons to believe that that's the case. And certain word choices are throwing up flags for me that say that this is a significantly more emotionally charged conversation than I was ready for or was hoping to engage in. And I recognize you might have some problems with certain definitions of gender. You might have certain problems with this, that, or the other thing. But
wait, why are you saying I have problems? It's not a matter of having problems.
Because you took objection to it, is what I mean. I'm sorry if the word problem is the wrong word.
Then I have objections to it.
Yes, but I don't think...
this person really makes me uncomfortable, by the way. Just... Oh, like, imagine being in a relationship with someone like this. Like, oh, it's disgusting. It really grosses me out. You complain about being spoken down to, and then you act like this towards someone. It's so disgusting.
That it is, first of all, we haven't decided who's wrong yet because we haven't had the conversation. And
I'm trying to have the conversation.
Well, interestingly, as in the process of trying to have this conversation, I don't feel like I am able to actually engage properly because I've been interrupted a lot of times, a significant amount of times. Okay?
I will never interrupt again. I will sit here, and once you are finished speaking, then I will respond.
Okay. Conversation, yes, I do agree with you, hopeful, that conversations are a two-way street. Now, what I am saying is that I don't think that most people, including most trans people, have a coherent definition of gender. I don't.
Yeah, there's complete bullshit. Most people just see it as sex.
I think that gender has a consistent definition. It is a completely and utterly social construct.
Social constructs still have definitions. Like, it has to have some kind of definition. Otherwise, what are you talking about?
And personally, I don't put a whole lot of value on gender. In fact, I'm a gender abolitionist. I believe that in the long run, we will probably never use gender in the long run. No, it's probably going to take a while for us to get there. The reason why I believe that is because I don't believe that you can easily.
Why are you a trans woman then? You're a gender abolitionist. Why would you transition in any way, shape, or form?
Suss out a objective definition of someone's gender, and I think that trying to do so leads to some very troubling societal outcomes. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't.
I'm gonna guess what they're getting to here is like, well, if you could identify which gene makes you trans, then wouldn't they just like eliminate that gene? Which I think is bullshit, personally. I think you're gonna get, I don't know, some kinds of people that would abort a baby on that basis. You would get some people who would probably want that baby on that basis specifically. I just don't, nothing about this tracks. Like, I don't see how you'd expect like a US or like Western European like government to start practicing eugenics if you found the definitive cause of being trans or gay or something. The mom is Alec Gunter. Well, they're all Alec Gunter because they're all Vorsh. Vorsh is a gender abolitionist. All of these people are just Vorsh clones. And it's funny that they like complain about like Destiny and shit like that. Most of their shit is ripped from Destiny because they're all copying Vorsh. Who do you think Vorsh is copying?
I don't think that there is, that trans people have a valid complaint when they say, or when the words that they are using, I think that we are limited, most trans people I think are limited by our linguistics, that we only have so many words to use, we only have certain societal understandings, and so we say, I'm a woman or whatever. I don't think that, like, I think that is how we identify how we wish.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
To express ourselves, but that doesn't really mean that there's any intrinsic meaning to being a woman. It is what a woman is. What is a collection of completely chaotic factors that nobody agrees on. No two humans.
A woman is a collection of chaotic factors that no two people agree on. I think a lot of people agree on one specific on one specific definition that neither of you two fucking idiots will put out there. That being that it's an adult human female. I don't think I buy gender abolitionism. I don't think these people actually do either. I think it sounds cool to say, but there's a complete waste of time. Like, I still have no idea what this person actually thinks about almost anything. Oh, hi Jody, I hope you're good. Hi Jib Opdion. This isn't a gender critical debate. This is, I guess, if you want to really like dumb it down, you've got a trans med and then a too cute.
Agree on what a woman is. In fact, you.
Well, yes, but are those women like? They're not a woman because of those factors, and most people agree that they're women because of specific things. You know.
Alluded to this previously in our discussion. So the reason why I come to this conclusion is that the reason why I think it is perfectly fine to acknowledge that anybody who uses the term woman is, for all intents and purposes, a woman, is because it is it is not an objective term. There is no specific thing that any one person is referring to, but a loose.
Yeah, let's keep pretending sex doesn't exist. Amazing.
Collection of traits which aren't consistent from person to person. And as a result, I don't think that we should hold these things to particularly strong standards. And I disagree very strongly with your previous allegation that this somehow leads to an attack helicopter argument, which I do not believe is the case. However,
if you're saying a human can be an attack helicopter, then the term attack helicopter really has no meaning. You're literally admitting that woman has no meaning to you. Fuck me.
I do think that there is risk in the opposite of attempting to boil down and define some sort of objective or singular concept of gender, because I don't think that anybody really has a single concept of gender in their mind. Does that make sense?
I understand your arguments. Can I respond then?
Sure.
Some things? Sure. I will try to build a bridge, but I also have meaningful concerns to address. Okay. So you said that the reason that you think that anyone who uses the term woman is a woman is because it's a non-objective term. There's no specific thing people are referring to, and that they're referring to a series of traits that varies from person to person. Did I quote you correctly?
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Okay. I don't necessarily disagree with that. When I say objective, what I'm referring to is not a single unified collection of traits, like not like a single solid checklist that you must meet all of these things in order to be woman.
Okay, so we're bastardizing the word objective again. Love it, love it, love it.
What I'm referring to, and I'll say it one more time because this seems to indicate that there may be a misunderstanding. I'm referring to how the average person in society, and we're constructing a hypothetical average person. Okay. And when we're saying society, we are taking a either larger society or maybe a smaller group or a culture. We are taking a group of people, like we're taking the average person from a larger group, and we are polling them on seeing what traits that person would define as being sufficient or being identified as a woman. And then we look at the average of what all people in that group define to be that category at a given time, which can change over time, which can change over cultures. And that's what we would generally take to define as a certain gender. Gender can be anything. You could have people construct genders that are entirely different from men and women, as long as it is what is broadly defined within a group to exist at a given time, based on a series of qualities that the group has, then gender. So I'm not sure if I necessarily disagree. The thing that I do seriously, and this is like, I'm going to ask this, and I want like a serious answer. If just identifying as a gender, if just identifying with a quality makes you a quality, then like you said that this isn't the attack helicopter,
right?
But like, why is that? Like, if you say that just identifying as something makes you that thing, then the problem with me with making that the only, right? Don't give like small like asides. I stayed quiet.
I was literally just stating that I think you've got something wrong in my argument.
Okay, well then let me finish the statement, and then let me finish. Okay, I waited for you. Okay, so if all that's
this person goes on endlessly when it's their turn. Watch any fucking debate with someone that doesn't really know what Demon Mama is like and thinks they're just going in for like a discussion or whatever. Like, to begin with, I think it was that Rose Wrist guy. That's a really good example. Look up Demon Mama talking to someone called Rose Wrist. The first like 30, 40 minutes of this conversation is not a conversation. He'll say like 3 or 4 words, like ask a question or something, and then she'll go off for 10 minutes fucking yammering on about God knows fucking what. Like, it's painful, but she can't wait when it comes to someone else. And notice how we're like starting to interrupt now, even though we were complaining earlier that she was interrupting. And she's interrupted previous in this conversation as well. Like, this person just wants excuses to like get in arguments, is what it comes across as. And I've dated people like that. It doesn't generally end well.
Required to identify with, to be a gender, to identify with it. That seems to be a problem because there seems to need to be something else, whatever that other thing is, something else, or else people could identify as anything and they would be anything. I obviously do not believe that. That is what is very troubling about this, because in my opinion, there has to be something else, whatever that something else is, to distinguish self-identification as gender from other.
Hey, by the way, make sure you like the stream, make sure you check the links in my description. You can super chat via Streamlabs, you can buy my music or stream it on Spotify. You can subscribe on Twitch. Let's keep going.
Things. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I don't think that you're categorizing my understanding of gender correctly, because I don't believe. Down. Well, that's fine.
Just tell me why.
The idea that that identifying something as an.
Why is Demon Mama shaking so much? That's just what they do. Like they do the leg pumping thing a lot. It drives me insane. I'm not really looking at Demon Mama a huge amount because
attack helicopter.
It is sped up, by the way, just so you're wondering why it's like fast. Just probably just kind of bouncing up and down like normal.
I don't know, like this is a pretty significant difference between something like gender, which in my opinion can only exist among sentient beings as a part of a social contract, hence why it's a social construct, versus an attack helicopter, which is not a sentient.
The problem is, as well, gender is derived from sex, and these people will never admit that. They will never acknowledge that.
An object cannot self-identify and can therefore only be objectified, can only be treated.
Yeah, so what happens if a person doesn't have the sentience? So they don't have any kind of gender identity, then what are they? Do you just default back to sex? But then why can't you just default to sex for everyone? Seeing as what you can objectively see about them in almost every single case is worth far more than what they call themselves anyway.
In the objective. You don't get to decide who's a woman. You do get to decide what is or what isn't an attack helicopter, because an attack helicopter is not an agent. See, yeah, what we're encountering is a linguistic.
All right, then I'll change the attack helicopter. All right, I'll use a different example.
Sure, pick another example.
Okay. Let's say if someone self-identifies as Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
Okay.
All right. They self-identify. They believe genuinely that they are Jesus Christ, that they are born and risen from the grave, that they are literally Jesus Christ of Nazareth. They identify with that. They believe themselves to be that. Are they Jesus Christ?
Are they Jesus
Are
Christ?
they the literal Jesus Christ? We're not talking about like some self. We're talking about like literally Jesus Christ from the Bible.
No, because Jesus Christ of the Bible is an object.
Wait, hold on.
Jesus Christ of the Jesus Christ of the Bible is an object. Linguistically, Jesus Christ does not exist at all to us. We're speaking of Jesus Christ as the object, as the historical figure that we understand and can identify. You see?
That's individual, not gender, though. Okay, so then let me.
Yes, but we're talking. Yeah, you're jumping from something that is an identifier. Like, for example, I am a woman, which I think is a very, very. Even you agree with me. You even said you agree with me that it's an incredibly difficult thing to define what woman is, because there's no consistency across time and space.
Yeah, it's difficult if you're pretending that sex doesn't exist.
No, I didn't say that.
You did, but
no, I didn't agree with your with your elaboration.
If tomorrow I told you, "Hi, my name is Jesus of Nazareth," are you going to say, "No, that's not your name"?
I'm going to say, do you mean that's your, like, are you named after the person, or like, are you saying that you're actually Jesus motherfucking Christ?
Well, but those are very different things, right? Because a name is something that you can declare. I can tell you my name is anything.
Yeah, we're talking
and we don't
about
have rules.
Who identifies as the person.
What's that?
We're talking about someone who identifies as the person, not just with the name. Like, they believe themselves to be Jesus of Nazareth.
Yes, but they are making an objective claim. They're making a claim about an object. They're saying, "I am the historical Jesus Christ of the Bible." And we can go, wait, hold on a second. Because when you think of Jesus in your mind, we have a specific...
None of this says why you can identify as a woman, by the way. There's no actual argument as to why it works to say woman, but not as Jesus of Nazareth.
Person, structure, time.
The only way it works is if you pretend sex doesn't exist. And that's all this kind of thing boils down to. We're just doing everything we can to avoid the elephant in the room, which is that we've got two males. If you're watching this, you've got three males on screen, because you've got me and these two. Neither of these people are actually women. I'm not a woman either. Like, Jesus Christ.
In place, set of features that define Jesus Christ, the object, right?
Okay.
So Jesus Christ didn't declare himself. Jesus Christ didn't declare himself as Jesus Christ of the Bible of Nazareth. He lived a life, and now he's been written down in books, and we have codified what defines Jesus Christ of the Bible, and that's how we identify Jesus Christ of the Bible. So someone else who doesn't match the object that we've constructed linguistically, Jesus Christ, we can say, well, no, you're not, because we know that Jesus Christ of the Bible is defined as these things. But if somebody says, "My name is Jesus Christ of Nazareth," you can't really tell them, "No, it isn't," because you get to define what your name is. That is how names work. You get, unless you would argue that people should be able to have objectively assigned names by somebody else, I would think that's silly. And I believe the same thing about gender.
Yes. All right, then I will use a different example.
Sure.
All right, because
Nazareth, you can't really tell them, "No, it isn't," because you...
you can if you don't believe them. If I say my name's fuckface, people are going to disbelieve me.
Get to define what your name is. That is how names work. You get, unless you would argue that people should be able to have objectively assigned names by somebody else, I would think that's silly. And I believe the same thing about gender.
Yes. All right, then I will use a different example.
Sure.
All right, because it seems to be like, for me, now we seem to be indirectly defining what a gender is beyond just identifying as something. Because if you...
Just give me a sec. I'll be back in a minute. Excuse me.
Like now we have moved beyond, so we can't. So it's not just. So gender is not just identifying as an object or a historical person. Okay, so then what about identifying as the president? I self-identify as the president of the United States. Is this not a person or a social categorization of someone?
I mean, I would agree that it's a social category. I mean, okay, we can go all the way through.
I mean, could this person not maybe give an example that they would accept so they can continue the conversation? If they were like, if they gave the slightest shit about actually having this conversation, you'd think they might do that. But truthfully, this person just isn't interested. So they're just wasting time. They're just sitting here waiting. Probably having like fucking donos rolling in and stuff like that.
Through to say all things are ultimately social categorization because that's how language works. But if we're not going to go that far, making a statement, a claim of I am the president of the United States, we can check that against the linguistic object, the president of the United States, and go, well, they don't meet the category. They don't meet the category.
Yeah, the thing is, you could check Demon Mama against what a woman generally means. Oh, Demon Mama has a penis? Then I guess they're not a woman. Shit. There we go. She made her own argument against herself. Well done, Demon Mama.
That we decide collectively is the president of the United States. So obviously, I mean, you could say that, but that would not be taken seriously because it doesn't match the object that we have constructed as the president of the United
States. Yeah, a bit like you calling yourself a woman doesn't really get taken seriously.
United States, which, as it turns out, is a pretty clear definition. Like, in order to be the president of the United States, you need to have done such and such things. There's a whole bunch of rules that we use to define who the president of the United States is. In fact, we have a whole lot of rules for that, specifically to avoid things like what would happen in medieval times, which is, there's a legitimacy crisis because how you define who the king is isn't necessarily clear. We have a very clear definition of who the president is so that people can easily identify what the president is. But gender is not the presidency.
Okay. So, all right. So there's a couple things there.
Sure.
So first I want to hold on to the idea. So you agree then that someone who says that they are the president, who is not the president, is wrong about that self-identification. Like if I were to say right now, I'm the president of the United States, you would say, I am wrong by that criteria you've set out.
Yes, because being the president is not a self-identification.
Okay, then let me ask you.
It isn't a matter of self-identification. Other people define you as the president of the United States.
And let me ask you this. Can a trans person be wrong if they self-identify as a gender?
No.
Okay, the next logical question.
Sure.
Let's say that we have a trans person who is pre-transition, does not know that they are trans. They self-identify as a man.
Okay.
Are they wrong?
No. No, they're not. Because that is their understanding of their gender at the time, and it is their right to declare their gender. Now, I lived my life pre-transition as a man because that was my understanding of my gender at the time. And while I do think that we're
my understanding of my gender, as if it's not something you're just making up.
Incredibly limited in how we talk about these things because obviously I transitioned and I do identify with the term woman and with pronouns she, her, and with...
These people could admit that woman is an objective term. This conversation wouldn't even matter. Yes, very true. They just refuse to admit that they're not women. Yeah. What's happening here is Demon Mama wants the word woman to be meaningless. And Riley Grace Roshong wants the word woman to include her. And both of them are completely wrong. Like, Riley Grace Roshong doesn't seem to know what objectivity is. Demon Mama doesn't seem to know anything about anything. It's utterly bizarre. I've never seen anything like this.
Femme aesthetics in general, I don't believe that it is very easy for us to talk about these things because we don't have very good rules about them. And so my argument is that with regard to gender, functionally in our society, gender is incredibly abstract. It's very, very personal. So I don't see how there is... In fact, I think we solve a lot of problems by simply allowing people to identify as whatever gender they so please, whatever pronouns they so please, because we can acknowledge that gender is highly, highly abstract.
I mean, the pronouns thing falls apart immediately when it's like, well, what if someone doesn't want to call you that? And like, what if someone doesn't recognize your identity? What if they don't have that same opinion of how gender works? That you are what you say you are. You know what I mean?
There are no set rules for it. Nobody agrees on the rules for it. And therefore, we may as well treat it as an identifier. And if people want to pursue HRT, we should also allow them to do that for a separate reason.
This is all great. I understand this. There's a problem at the beginning. I understand all that you're saying, and it's taken well. There's a problem early on.
Okay.
So the person, I want to return to this hypothetical.
Sure.
This is very important to me. Okay. So this person, pre-transition. transition trans woman self-identifies as a man.
Yep.
So that person to you is a man. I'm asking this because there's more I want to elaborate on.
To me, that person is a man.
That person is a man.
If they tell me they're a man, then sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the follow-up question is being trans just a personal choice?
I mean, I feel like that's the wording there is a little bit like...
No, I mean, like, that's the natural...
Oh, she won't answer. Yes, it's just what you choose to identify as by your own logic.
Because, I mean, I gave you the facts to be able to say that person is intrinsically trans.
It's a personal choice in the same way that choosing to come out as gay is a personal choice.
But why are they trans?
But the thing is, like, being... Well, wait, why are they trans?
I need a very specific answer to this question. This is the most important question of all this.
Sure.
Why, like, is being trans a personal choice? Yes or no?
Is being trans. Depends on what you mean by being trans.
She won't answer. Like, clearly, if you think that whatever someone identifies as what there is, then yeah, what they are, then yeah, it's a choice. You're ultimately making that choice to self-identify as one or the other, or something completely different.
All right, then in any way that you choose to
wait, well, here's another question. Do you believe that non-binary people are trans?
No, do not ask. And yes, I do. But no,
Why?
I need you to answer. Yeah, because I have a consistent definition. Do not change the subject. Do not pivot away. I need you to answer.
You don't
this
get to.
question.
Excuse me. No. Don't do that.
Oh, she's not. She won't answer and is now trying to turn it back on the other person. What a pussy. What an actual loser.
No, I asked you the question. I need you. Just answer this question. All right.
Are you trying to angle for like a gotcha here or something?
No, I'm not. This is just very important. Is being
Why is it important?
And you can answer however you want.
No,
you can answer
Riley.
You know when they know that they're wrong and when they're cornered and that their bullshit makes no sense. Oh, are you trying to get a gotcha? This is them admitting that actually their shit makes no sense. I'm not saying that what Riley is saying in general, the positive points that Riley is making, make any sense either, because they don't. But like Demon Mama is like cornered here. She's completely fucked. And that's when you see them turn it on the other person.
I'm not trying to pin you in a box. I'm not trying to do anything bad. I just need you to answer this one question. Is being trans a choice? You can answer however you want.
What is her face doing? What are you... Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Important. Is being
Why is it
trans,
important?
And you can answer however you want.
No,
you can answer
Riley?
I'm not trying to pin you in a box. I'm not trying to do anything bad. I just need you to answer this one question. Is being trans a choice? You can answer however you want. I'm not trying to pin you in a box. Do whatever you want with that. Just give me like at least somewhere in your answer, yes or no.
Is being trans a choice? If you mean, but when you say by being trans, if you mean the state of
identifying as something as what you're not,
leaving the gender that you were assigned at birth.
How do you get cornered by someone who's also kind of wrong? Well, because Riley is like identifying a super massive flaw in Demon Mama's beliefs here.
Birth and changing to another one. No, it's a choice to pursue that, yes, but in being that, no, that is not a choice. You are who you are, just like you don't have a choice in being human.
So then when you change your gender and like decide that you're female instead of male now, you've made a choice. This is so ridiculous.
Or you don't have a choice in being what personality you are. Now, the steps that you choose to take in affirming or in realizing your transness, those are choices, of course, and they...
Yes, I'm with you.
Sure, and they are things that I think can be incredibly beneficial, but I think that the idea of being trans is not really like, I feel like there's like a linguistic problem in that sentence.
But I mean, like, we agree, like, yeah, like...
I will say there's a problem in that sentence, but like, what problem? The problem is, you're full of shit. And Riley is asking you something that confirms that. That's why you start being difficult. It's so obvious. Debate pervertry. It's not about being honest. It's not about actually having a conversation about what two different people think. Again, I think Riley is wrong about a shit ton of things here, but at least seems like earnest. I don't think Demon Mama sincerely believes any of this. I don't think Demon Mama cares to believe any of this.
Like, I can agree with you. Like, all the choices that someone makes, like all of the choices of how to pursue transition or how to present yourself, like, yeah, those are all choices. But like, being trans in and of itself is not just a choice, right? Like, that's what you said. Like, just the fact, like the state of being something which is contrary to what was assigned to you at birth, right?
What are you doing? It's so obvious. Either it is or it isn't. Like, that is your choice, ironically. The choice being presented. Oh man, this is actually like ridiculous. Like, oh my god, like Riley is barely winning this. She's wrong about literally everything, pretty much. But she's not wrong that Demon Mama's shit makes no sense.
No, I don't think that would be a matter of choice. No. Like, I don't think you have any choice over whether you are, but that's also how we define transness, right? Because we define being trans as a thing, and so I would argue that you don't have a choice in being trans.
Because you're saying it's innate. Therefore, there must be something within you that makes you female. Otherwise, to just identify as something is a choice without something innate that your identity is like recognizing or referring to. You know what I mean? Oh, it's crazy. By Demon Mama's logic, someone could be born a detransitioner. Yeah, probably. Well, detransitioner is just anyone that calls themselves a detransitioner, surely.
And if you find out one day, oh, I'm not happy living as the gender and being perceived as the gender that I was assigned at birth, you don't have a choice in that. You are trans there. So no, I don't think that's
I just want to take this. So we agree that there's something more to being trans than just the choice of saying, actually, here, I'll paint another way. So let's say that we have someone, let's say that we have another hypothetical person who does not have those
hypotheticals are risky business around Demon Mama, Jesus Christ.
Internal mental processes, whatever they are, but does not feel that same need to identify as something that was contrary to what they were assigned at birth. Okay? Can you imagine, like, are we on the same, like, we can imagine this person.
You're saying that someone who doesn't have dysphoria or something?
Basically, or whatever we want to define these mental processes as. We can just label them arbitrary. We'll call them X, mental processes X.
Well, I mean, I would argue that it's incredibly hard on a philosophical level to litigate dysphoria.
How does Demon Mama have a conversation like this and not take a step back, reconsider their stance? It's irritating to watch. Well, the thing is, Demon Mama, well, I don't know about now, because, letting her partner show off sex toys to a underage person on Discord and shit like that, everyone knows now. What a shame. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. But, like, this person has an audience. They have people that, like, give them money for this kind of shit. Like, at this point, like, it doesn't matter how completely, utterly retarded all this shit she's saying is. Like, this appeals to someone, ultimately. This appeals to a whole group of people that are watching that want the same kind of thing that this person does. Like, to be able to call themselves a woman, and for that to mean nothing except to obfuscate their sex, because they're not happy with their sex, which is what gender dysphoria is. So it's bizarre how many of these people will, like, pretend either they don't have gender dysphoria or gender dysphoria doesn't need to be there. But all of them seem to have it. None of these people seem to know anyone, in actual fact, that just identifies as something else. I don't know if I think you can identify as something else without having some kind of gender dysphoria. Because obviously there's a reason why you're trying to leave your sex behind. But you can't actually do that. It's still there. It still informs who you are as a person in so many fucking ways.
I'm not trying to litigate dysphoria.
You kind of are in a certain sense. And the reason why I would say that is that, like, while I could say that, well, surely, like, somebody who's non-binary doesn't, maybe, a non-binary person who doesn't choose to pursue.
Listen, I don't know about her audience so much. I know that this person made something of a living, like was paying editors and stuff at one point. The person that came out accusing her of, like, weird groomer shit behavior, they were, like, making thumbnails for this person or something like that. Like, for a while, this was, like, at least somewhat profitable for this person. It's like, someone is dumb. Like, what are they going to go work as? You know what I mean? And they're a anarcho whatever fucking shit anyway. So they probably don't believe in capitalism or working or contributing to society or any of that shit.
Surgery or HRT might not have dysphoria in the same way that we would categorize as, like, clinical dysphoria, but something nonetheless motivated them to no longer identify with the gender.
Yeah, the problem is someone like this will never start questioning anything. This person thinks they're right about everything. And I don't know if I've ever seen this person, like, concede anything. I mean, they're a disciple of Vorsh. When has Vorsh ever hear in certain argument that kind of blows his shit out the water and think, hey, maybe I need to change some shit? Like, maybe this kind of is better than what I've been saying. I don't know. I don't think it happens very often, if at all.
Gender that they were assigned, right?
Right.
Which
I agree.
May be a form of...
The thing is, I do know of people that have similar beliefs to this kind of thing, this kind of anarchist, like, gender shit, but it's bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. If any of this is real, all it serves to do is be like, well, maybe we should just care about sex and throw all this gender stuff out anyway.
Of dysphoria. Like, I mean, it just depends. It may not meet the criteria of dysphoria, but I don't think that dysphoria is necessary for someone to be, or clinical dysphoria is necessary for someone to be trans.
No, I agree. I completely agree. I agree with all that. I don't want to, like, I agree with everything that you just said.
Okay.
I agree that someone doesn't need dysphoria to be trans. I just want to imagine, like, we have to explore this because this is kind of, you're wondering why I was heated earlier. This is the reason why. Okay. So I just want you to just give me your word right now that you'll just hold on to me for a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting how often like anti-capitalism turns out to just be an excuse to either underpay people or not even pay people at all for like doing shit for you. It's really fascinating. And then they got their fucking tongue split and stuff like that, which is not a cheap thing to do as far as I know.
A bit more, right? It's very important to me. I care about you, all right? I genuinely want.
Yeah, I don't think Demon Mama passes, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I've seen exceptionally ugly women that look like this. I don't know. Bosch v. Samvi debate. No, I haven't watched that yet. I'll watch it at some point, but it's super long, so you're gonna have to bear with me a bit.
Want us to reach somewhere.
Sure.
Okay?
Yes.
So let's imagine. So we already established that like trans people generally have some mental processes which motivate them to identify with a gender that is contrary to what they were assigned at birth, and that is not a choice, right? We've already like that, whatever those mental processes are, not necessarily dysphoria, but whatever those are, we just know that those exist, right?
Yep. Something exists that motivates them. Yep.
Okay. Let's say that we have a person who does not have those mental processes, all right? And let's say that that person, let's say that they were assigned male at birth, and that they make the statement, I am a woman. Is that person a woman?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think this person even believes that, by the way.
Here's the follow-up question then.
Sure.
Okay. So, does that mean that person, let's say...
Listen, I'm not sure that Vosh doesn't literally identify as Jesus of Nazareth.
That person, let's elaborate more on this person. So I was hoping for a bit of...
I know where is Djibouti, and I'll have a look at some point. I just don't know when it'll be is all. It's quite long. I don't know. It'll happen at some point.
Of a budge there, but okay.
Why would I budge on that? I haven't... Okay, go ahead.
Well, here, all right. No, I had to think of another question. So here's the follow-up question. Let's say that person internally identifies as a man.
Okay.
They have none of the mental processes which motivate someone that we already talked about to be trans.
Okay.
Does that mean that person, if they say that they are a woman, is wrong?
Yeah, what if someone's lying, basically? Like some of her questions for Riley's, for Demon Mama's stuff, a bit further in, are actually quite good.
You mean if they're like lying about their own self-identity?
Yes.
Well, lying or mistaken. Like if someone has schizophrenia or something, they call themselves a woman. Maybe they don't even know what a woman is. I don't fucking know. Like, could be lots of things.
Well, they would be lying about it. So
does that mean that they are wrong?
If they are acknowledging with their own self-identity that they are lying about their self-identity, then by definition, yes, because they don't actually believe that they are a woman. They are
yeah, because you can never tell. That's the problem. For all I know, Demon Mama is lying about identifying as a woman. For all I know, Riley Grace Roshong is also lying about identifying as a woman. You'll never know. So you can't like objectively use gender identity as a marker for what like gender you are. Again, it's just one of those things where if you pretend that sex doesn't exist, I guess maybe it works because you don't have a better theory or whatever. But sex does exist. And man and women, in fact, are sex terms.
Declaring that despite their own knowledge that it is not the case. So that would mean they are wrong, them personally, on this particular situation, because we've come up with a hypothetical in which somebody knows that they're not a woman, that knows that that they don't identify with that term at all whatsoever, and they're just saying it just because. So, okay. Yeah, sure. But I think that's, I don't think...
because this makes trans completely inobservable. It makes it completely subjective. You cannot objectively be a woman if it's based on identity. It doesn't work. You just end up defaulting back to sex, which we probably should just be doing anyway at this point.
I think that there's any way that you could ever, that would ever be relevant in any social aspect whatsoever.
But then you pull it back by being like, oh, well, I'm a consequentialist or whatever shit.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, then let's change around the hypothetical.
Okay.
Let's say that instead of this person not having those qualities, let's say that they do.
Okay. So they experience dysphoria?
No, not necessarily. Whatever the mental processes are that motivate someone to identify as trans. Like the ones that we talked about earlier.
Oh,
like
okay. So we're going to call this non-clinical dysphoria, subclinical dysphoria, whatever. Just dysphoria as a general.
I wouldn't call it dysphoria,
okay.
Just because the literature
discomfort. Then let's put it that way. Discomfort or desire to not be their assigned gender.
Sure.
Okay. So somebody has the desire to not be their assigned gender.
Okay. And let's say that person says, so let's say that this is like an AMAP person. Mm-hmm. They're internally, they believe themselves to be a woman. They want to be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
They are closeted.
Sure.
They say that they are a man.
Mm-hmm.
Are they a man? Or are they wrong about their gender?
Well, they're not. I mean, I think that using the term like, are they wrong is kind of, is a little bit leading here. I would say they're lying. Yes, they are lying. But there's a purpose for that, right? Because if they're closeted...
They're lying. Yeah, if you pretend sex doesn't exist, they're lying, I guess. Jesus.
They're trying to keep it a secret because there might be social repercussions. They know they're lying. They're just lying for a reason.
Sure.
Right. So I don't think it would be wrong. That implies that sort of wording implies, in my opinion, like, I don't know, like that they're flawed.
If they say that they're
lying for a reason.
All right. If they say that they are a man, that is not representative of who they are.
That's correct, because they're lying. We know this. This is the same. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, okay. You've stated that they're lying. They're not telling the truth about what they actually identify with.
Oh, this is getting painful now. This is actually just getting painful. But two people who are not living in reality still somehow clashing. There's no way this ideology is ever going to be sustainable. It's wild that anyone thought they could ever make society accept this stuff as truth. Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, people will believe you if you seem genuine about something. If you make an effort, it looks like you're, sincere about your belief. But like, the problem is when you actually try and boil it down to an innate thing, which is what Riley seems to want to do, which I don't blame her for necessarily. There's nothing. You can't come up with anything. But then if you default to the other position of, well, then anyone that identifies as something is something, then that's preposterous as well. The answer is that sex exists and that men and women are classes of sex specific to humans and specific to being mature. Like the difference between like a buck and a fawn, for example.
So would they be wrong about themselves? I mean, you could put it like that. I think they know who they are and they're lying tactically. And I think that there's, we could talk about that, but for the purposes of this, I don't think it's,
so
I don't think the word
person,
is. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So if that person expresses to other people that they're a man, like.
Yeah. So someone that thinks they're a woman, but says they're a man is actually a woman when they're born male. Like how many layers deep are we at this point? Jesus Christ. I'm dying.
Let's just be clear then.
Okay.
So there's more to being a gender. I think, like, I'm really trying to make this leap here. There's more. There's something more to being a gender than just saying that you are a gender.
Well, okay. I mean, I would say that then just saying it, but I don't know if that was the exact wording I used at the beginning, but that was, I assumed that you understood that means like honestly saying that. If you're saying something, vocalizing something that you honestly believe. So yes, okay. If we're going to say, like, obviously it's not literally saying the words that makes you that thing necessarily, but it is identifying with it. It is deciding in your mind that I am this thing that makes you that thing.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
And we can elaborate on that even a little bit more.
Sure.
Right? Because you can have someone. So, I tend to agree with the idea that. Hold on, someone's asking, do you want to put up? No, we're close. We're in a good direction. Okay, so we can add on some more qualifiers, right, to what it means to be a gender, right? It's not just identifying, right? There's also like a degree of, pull up fine. There's a degree of genuinely believing your identification, right?
Yeah, but I don't really think there's much of a distinction there. Like, I don't think there's much of a distinction between like identifying a way and genuinely believing that. I think that's mostly just a semantic or linguistic difference. I think those are mostly the same thing. And I think that in the situation, what's that?
Well, How are those meaningfully different?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they are meaningfully different. I think that identifying as something, I mean, you can't, like, we're getting to the point of whether you can lie to yourself or not, and I think that's, like, really hard to do.
Yes, you can lie to yourself. Yes, you can be wrong about yourself. Yes, your self-perception can be incorrect. Absolutely, 100%. And these people will fight to the death that that's not the case. Because everyone has to be able to know themselves 100% for their shit to work. People don't always know themselves. People are wrong about themselves all the time.
Like, hard to determine. I don't actually know if like we would have to have a conversation about consciousness, and I don't think there's much we can actually do about consciousness because we don't understand human consciousness yet. So there's not much of a progress we're gonna be able to make on that. However,
I'm not sure if
I think that, like, somebody identifying as X, when I say somebody identifying as X, the assumption is that that when they say identify, this is their internal process. Now, when I mean when somebody identifies themselves to others, engages in a social thing, when they say I am a woman, of course they could be lying about that. I mean, if they're closeted and they're actually, you know, and they're telling the world they're a woman, but they actually they see themselves and identify as a man and they wish to transition to a man.
Yeah, what if Matt Walsh said he was trans? Yeah. Well, then they'd be like, oh, well, you know, it's Matt Walsh, so he has to be wrong. But it's like, well, anyone can have those kind of beliefs that Matt Walsh has in secret and never tell you. And then you'd give them the kind of grace that you expect because they're not Matt Walsh and you don't know who they are.
I mean, we wouldn't hold that against them because there's a reason for that, right? Because of all kinds of rules that we have on that. But obviously, what we've been talking about here is, or presumably, is the internal processes. So I do believe it's possible for you to lie about how you identify, but that doesn't necessarily. But it is not, in my opinion, it is not the public declaration of your gender that makes you the gender. It is your internal conclusion that concludes your gender.
Well, I mean, like, I agree. Mm-hmm. I think that we are able to reasonably suss out people can lie to themselves. I mean, like, this is something that I would say is easily observable in the trans community. There are plenty of people who are trans, who experience feelings or thought processes, which earlier in life, they may not be able to understand. But then later in life, when given the proper ability to understand those involuntary internal thought processes in the way that, like, you learn a new concept and it helps you understand a large body of work that may...
Vorsh's mannerisms. Yep, this is one of Vorsh's skinwalkers, so makes sense.
That you may not have, that it helps you understand, like, an entirely new range of concepts that you weren't able to put words to before, like stochastic terrorism. Learning that concept and then being like, oh, I didn't know how to be able to describe this phenomenon I have observed, but now I can describe it. And now I have all these ways to be able to describe these things I had wanted to describe, right?
I mean, but we're more or less describing the phenomenon of self-exploration. I don't know that it's like, I don't think that, like, I think we run into linguistic and conceptual issues when we start to ask whether people can, like, meaningfully lie to themselves. Because I think...
Well, I mean, like, this...
Well, because, like, I mean, think about it this way. Like, was I lying to myself when I didn't have the words to describe what being trans was? Because I didn't, like, no, I don't think so. Can people be...
Why?
Like, what's that?
Well, my question is why? Because I'm trying to figure out, like, what being trans is. And if it's not... Or actually, I should rephrase this. There's also another problem. If being trans is just, because it seems like there's an issue where if we have it where it's...
Okay, I'm starting to get bored. I don't know if I'll finish this at some point, just because it probably gets stupid again. I know there was a whole bunch of drama in, like, Riley's community after this, because probably a fair amount of them are, like, demon mama types who do want it to just be calling yourself a thing. But yeah, Jesus Christ. So, I don't know. Can I summarize this? Riley is chasing ghosts. Riley wants there to be some kind of objective thing that makes you a woman. And that's why people identify as women when they're not women. I think she's completely wrong. Demon Mama is not smart enough to register on the right or wrong scale. Demon Mama is just full of shit, quite frankly. I don't think this person cares. If they want to be a woman, they're going to call themselves a woman, and that's all there is to it, and there is never going to be anything you'll do to change their mind. Whether it makes sense or not is completely immaterial to a person like this. So yeah, I don't think Demon Mama truly gives a shit, quite honestly. And I'm surprised that Riley Grace Roshong thought that they would get any kind of, like, meaningful conversation from a person like this. Again, it speaks to how we put people like this on a pedestal back in the day. We pretended that these people had any fucking merit whatsoever. Like, I wonder... I don't really, like... I've spoken to Child Logic once. And I didn't really like message him or anything because I don't know. I'm the kind of person that I just think, oh, I'll say dumb shit and then they won't like me or whatever. But I kind of wonder what his like attitude towards people like this was. Like how someone like that, because I know he was like kind of friends with Demon Mama. I wonder how someone like that balances wanting to like befriend other content creators whilst also knowing on a certain level that Demon Mama is stupid and worthless in this kind of space and is saying nothing of value other than to pat their little followers on the back because you feel the same way they do. Like, I kind of wonder, maybe I should ask him about that sometime. I don't know if we'd end up speaking again because I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it's something that's like, that I'm curious about for sure. And he's just the example I can think of. I don't know many people that have been in this kind of space. But it's just bizarre to me. This person, Demon Mama, people seem to, for a while, go to the ends of the earth to pretend that this person wasn't a fucking retard with zero redeeming qualities. And it just blows me away. When I used to watch this kind of stuff, when I used to watch like Destiny and stuff like that, like he seemed like one of the only honest ones when it came to someone like Demon Mama, kind of recognizing very quickly that this person is cancerous. But so many other people would pretend that this person has any merit whatsoever. It just baffled me. I don't know if it's wanting like a share of their audience. I don't know if it's wanting to get along with other people, like seeing them as colleagues because you're all like leftists or whatever. I just think it's bizarre. I didn't even bother to listen to their arguments at the time. Once I did, it clicked. Yeah, I was kind of similar, yeah. Yeah, I just wonder about that. I'm not singling anyone out. Chad Logic is just the person that I actually know out of any of them, vaguely. I just wonder how they kind of dealt with that disconnect, or whether they used to actually think that Demon Mama was worth something. Because the only way I can make it work is like, a lot of these people, when they're streaming, they don't really watch other streamers and stuff. And that's fair enough. But yeah, it just baffles me. And it's scary that people like this get clout and people like this get respected in like political YouTube spaces, which the only way that can happen is if the entire thing is fucking dog shit, which it kind of was and still is. No offense. But yeah, man, fuck me. Maybe I'll finish this for the laughs because maybe they get a bit crazy again towards the end. But yeah, it was painful. Listen, we got through like an hour and a half, and it was only on 1.5 for some of the time. But yeah, there we go. Riley Grace Roshong versus Demon Mama, aka Wrong versus Wronger. How we all doing? How we all doing? We all good? I'm gonna stop in a sec because probably need to make food. I need to chill out for a bit. But yeah. It's interesting to look back on this kind of stuff. If nothing else, I find this kind of shit funny. I still don't understand why people follow anything Hassan has to say. Again, it'll be because it makes them feel good. They've got some kind of issue with all this capitalism stuff that they're aggrieved by. Maybe they have ADHD, aka they're lazy and don't want to have a job. And people like Hassan will what's the word? Legitimize their worldview, kind of suggest that it's not their fault and that actually capitalism is evil or some shit. I don't know. Yeah, Hassan got banned from Twitch. Like, Jesus Christ. I do not like Hassan, to be clear. I think he's awful. I've watched him once or twice on here, like clips of him talking about trans shit, and he's a fucking moron. Like, actually useless. Hassan will be back before you know it. Yeah, true. I mean, even if he doesn't get pulled back onto Twitch immediately, he'll just use another platform. That's what they do anyway. But yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check the links in my description. Check out my music sometime if you like ambient indie rock kind of stuff with some noisy bits. Or was he already unbanned? Hang on, let me just check. Banned or suspended. I think he was like suspended, probably technically. Oop, no, he appears to be back. You're right. There we go. Amazing. 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 Anyway, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to stop now. I love you all. Check out my music. Check out my links in my description. Except the Discord one. It's probably wrong. But yeah. Love you all. Have a good day. See you later.